the Historic District Commission. The date is September 8th, 2022. Time is 4:15. This meeting was noticed in the Fairfield Citizen on August 26th. And I will take attendance, starting with Chris Shea.
Present.
Thank you. Darren Raymond Mock.
Present.
Thank you. George Clark.
Present.
Thank you. Jim Bohan.
Present.
Thank you. Art Gravanis. I don't see Art here. So absent is Art Gravanis, Regina Negron, and Alyssa Stack. So at this point, all the two alternates will be voting on every application. And we'll start with the first item on the agenda, which is the Town of Fairfield, 725 Old Post Road in Fairfield, for property located at 725 Old Post Road in Fairfield for A, 10 dual electric vehicle charging stations, and B, 5 Pennsylvania Globe Company gas lights. Is there someone here to present for the Town of Fairfield?
Yes, James Ryan, Department of Public Works Building Maintenance Manager.
Great, thank you.
So yeah, the application is to install 10 dual electric vehicle charging stations at Independence Hall. So the town is making an effort to replace its aging fleet of Crown Victorian vehicles used by multiple departments across the town, and to help reduce harmful vehicle exhaust and to become more energy efficient. The town is in the final planning stages of installing 10 dual electric vehicle charging stations for future electric vehicles. With the help of the purchasing department, we put together a request for proposal for vendors to provide labor, materials, and equipment to design and construct these charging stations. We performed interviews with the two finalists and have chosen All Electric and Communication LLC from West Haven for this project. And it's a company that the town has worked together with on other solar installations and electric vehicle chargers throughout town. All Electric with the Juice Bar Model 320 Series 32A Level 2 chargers is what we are proposing in this application. Is the application up to see, or am I supposed to?
Can you present it, or would you like me to?
If you could, please. I don't want to mess up your your meeting. I'm a little hesitant.
Can you see that?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay.
So that is located on closer to the end of the page, is on page 12.
Let me go to page 12.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Which is, you know, the Juice Bar Model 320 Series 32A Level 2 charger. And then the layout of the charging stations is shown on page 2 of the application. It is proposed to have 8 dual chargers on the island and 2 near the garbage dumpster area of the parking lot behind Independence Hall. There is also an electric distribution panel associated with these chargers to be located near the dumpster enclosure as well. The project includes the 5 additional lights from Pennsylvania Globe Gas Light Company to match the existing lights already located around the parking lot, and they're on page 13. You've seen these before, I believe. They're matching the existing, and then on the page below is just the more specifications of the fixture itself. That's what we're looking at on a post. So then the funding for this project is provided by the American Recovery Plan Act and will be fully vetted by the federal government. And there's also substantial UI incentives to support the development of electric vehicle infrastructures that the town will receive. Any questions?
Sure. Question, any question? Crochet?
Sorry, Adam, did you ask me? I didn't hear you. Adam?
Any comments, Chris? Questions?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Barely.
Okay, sorry. Thank you for your presentation. So, the existing island where these charging stations are proposed, it looks like there's going to be a fair amount of trenching and underground work to feed these charging stations. Does that island, the curbing and everything that's there, that'll just all be just patched and it won't all be new?
Yeah, the island will remain. Whatever we disrupt will be replaced in kind. The hues, there's some older landscaping bushes that are there, will not remain.
Right, okay. And then the other question I had was that transformer that's going behind the dumpster enclosure. Do you have a photograph or a cut sheet on that?
I do not in this application. It is a typical, I'm sorry, it's not a transformer. So that is labeled incorrectly on the document. It is a distribution panel. It is very similar to a 200 amp service that you would have in your basement, except it's a 600 amp service. So it could be double doored, similar to that, outside weatherproof.
So it's mounted on, like, there's probably a concrete pad and maybe some Kindorf with
Exactly.
like a gray weatherproof metal or steel box.
Exactly. Unistrut Kindorf, yes.
Okay. And then the light fixtures. So in the cut sheet that we got, it looked like there were a couple of different poles in the photographs, and you're saying, I guess it's the Clifton pole?
Yep, the white wooden timbered pole.
The white post, okay. All right. And then, sorry, jumping back quickly to the EV charging station. So where that service is proposed to go by the dumpster, do you have to feed that service from somewhere? Is there a service that's going to be mounted on like Sullivan Hall in order to, like, a sub panel to feed that service, or?
Yes, we,
Something that we're gonna see on Sullivan Hall?
okay, so right now there's an existing transformer over by, it's existing and we are tapping into something that's existing. It is over by a tree that was dedicated to the judge, that recently passed. Yeah, if you can zoom in on that, but I don't know if it's going to come up. But it's existing and everything else is gonna be subterranean in the ground to the distribution panel. And that is, you know, with UI approval.
Okay, all right, thanks, James, that answers my questions.
Chris, Darren,
No questions from me.
thank you. George,
No questions from me. Thank you.
Jim,
No questions. Thank you very, very much.
okay. I do have a couple questions. I'm just, and this is really not relevant to the Historic District Commission, but are you basically taking 20 parking spaces and making them EV charging only? Parking lot's already tough enough to park in.
Yep, so what we have here is there's approximately 30 town vehicles to be replaced with 20. There's gonna be some sort of car, and you're right, it's not really part of this application, but there's gonna be some sort of car sharing happening between departments. So we are actually reducing the size of our fleet.
Okay. Isn't there parking over here?
So that is considered parking,
hidden?
signed, there's a sign there for the Community Services Building, which is 125 Penfield. So if you go, its address is 125 Penfield, but you access that through the Town Hall Green to get to that point. But that is technically 125 Penfield's Community Services parking.
And these are the light fixtures, there's 4 in the middle?
There's
This one here?
5 all day, yep. There's 2 there existing now. We are going to replace them with newer and retrofit the older ones, but we are, yep, they're gonna be 5 on the island and 1 over by the other 2 chargers.
Okay. We may stipulate screening, especially for this transformer, whatever you called it,
Thank you, I appreciate that.
you know? Be nice to screen these charging stations as well, but man, it might not be so practical. Other than that, I don't have any other questions. I do have a few letters to read, support. The first one is from Dan Martins. As a 30-year resident of Fairfield, I would ask CHEC to support the install of the 10 EV units with the current funding opportunity. Good environmental policy is always a puzzle of many pieces, and when they all fit together, change happens. Having the current opportunity for these units in Fairfield would be forward-thinking and support national and our hometown trends. In today's LA Times, headlines read, all electric cars by 2035 in California. Now the real work begins. Let's take advantage of the current opportunities to do some of the work now and support more sustainable transportation in Fairfield's future. Under this commission, I trust these units will enhance our town and support greater sustainability goals. Sincerely, Dan Martins, 28 Northwood Road, Fairfield. This is from Stuart Tracy. Hi, I can't make it to the meeting, but I want to voice my strong support in favor of 10 EV chargers that may be installed as infrastructure for expected EV fleet. for anything within reason. They'll support Fairfield's efforts to go green. Thank you, Tracy. Doesn't show a local address. Jim Motovali, as Fairfield resident and National Car Rider, I want to express my support for the plan to add EV chargers to the Sullivan Hall. The town hall will without a doubt be running all electric fleets in the near future, and this will prepare the town for that inevitability. You can use my name. I'm a member of the Sustainable Fairfield Task Force, Jim Motovelli. Megan McHale. Hello, Historic District Commission. I'm writing in support of installing the 10 EV stations downtown using the ARPA funding. This is an important opportunity for Fairfield to take advantage of and move the town towards clean electric power. And the proud owner of an electric vehicle. And I'm very clear that a broader transition to electric will simply not be possible without the infrastructure that makes it easy. My husband and I have 2 young children, and we care deeply that our town takes concrete steps to move towards sustainable energy and reduce pollution from cars. We're incredibly excited for the town's EV fleet to lead the way. Hope you'll support the EV stations. Many thanks, Megan McHale, 188 Range Road. Ted Luxinger, absolutely necessary to prepare for our electric future. Fully support the intent and use of funds. Sincerely, Ted Luxinger, 729 Cascade Drive, Fairfield. Jason Koularos, expressing my support as a resident of Fairfield, 2031 Reading Road for the 10 EV chargers proposed at Sullivan Independence Hall. Thank you. Sincerely yours, Jason Koularos. Andy Lowinger. Hi there, just chiming in to let you know that I'm at Fairfield strongly in favor of the EV charging stations. Thank you, and Lowinger. For Bob Hussein, Syed, the members of the Historic District Commission, I'm writing you today in support of the installation of 10 EV chargers at Sullivan Independence Hall. My sincerest hope is that you look to support this venture, as I truly believe that the more EV infrastructure we add to the town of Fairfield, the more we surge our way to citizens feeling at ease with purchasing EVs, which significantly lends the town's overall sustainability. Thank you for your effort and for your consideration. All the best. For Bob Hussein, Syed, Southport. Sherry Greer, I'm in favor of the installation of the 10 electric vehicle charging stations for use by the town and eventually the public. We should take every advantage of the ARPA funding that is available to move this forward. Thank you, Sherry Greer, Connecticut. Wall. Dear Commissioners, I'm Fairfield residents strongly support the town's application to install electric vehicle charging units behind Sullivan Independence Hall. I do not believe that the charging units will be visible from any public street to the extent that the parking lot at the SIH is considered a public way. The charging units would be no less appropriate than the parking lot itself. The installation of EV charging units at SIH makes sense because the town intends to convert its fleet to electric vehicles, and most of the drivers will be working and parking at SIH when not traveling off-site as part of their duties. The proliferation of EVs, both locally and globally, is already underway, and states are expecting to phase out the sale of internal combustion engines vehicles by the middle of the next decade. As a body dedicated to the preservation of the character of historic properties and areas, it is important to consider and support actions that would help to preserve and protect those properties from the impacts of climate change. This application is a small yet important step to accomplish that goal. Thank you very much for your consideration. Bob Wall, 277 Crestwood Road, Fairfield. Becky Bunnell. My name is Becky Bunnell. I live at 2005 Fairfield Beach Road. I'm a resident of Fairfield as well as the chair of the Flood and Erosion Control Board. It is my understanding that your commission will be discussing the proposed 10 Newtown EV charging stations in your meeting today. I would like to recommend you approve these and, more importantly, consider elevating them all above the anticipated future flood level. The state of Connecticut, through circa Connecticut Institute of Reliance and Climate Adaptation is recommending that we plan for a sea level rise of up to 20 inches by 2050, and I'm assuming the projected life of these charges will be easily 2050 or longer. Thank you for your consideration. Second. Amanda Ingracia, sorry. Good morning, Historic District Commission. I'm writing in support of installing the 10 EV stations downtown using the ARPA funding. This is an important opportunity for Fairfield to take advantage of and move the town forward towards clean electric power. As a young family, we care deeply that our town takes concrete steps to move towards sustainable energy and reduce pollution from cars. We are incredibly excited for the town's EV fleet to lead the way. I hope you will support the EV stations. Best, Amanda Ingracia. 373 Davis Road. Sean O'Sullivan. To the Fairfield Historic District Commission, please record my support for the 10 EV chargers to be placed around our town hall. Lots of preparation for electric vehicles to be purchased in the near future. The RPA funds available for this project may not be around for long, and it's essential that Fairfield will help the state meet its set goals for a clean and healthy environment. These will be a fabulous beginning. Thank you for your consideration. Regards, Sean O'Sullivan, Melville Avenue. Hi, Daphne Dixon. We are living in unprecedented times of climate change. It is critical that decisions are made at the local level that support electrification of our municipal fleet. Thank you, Daphne Dixon. Chuck Mazzone. Good afternoon, Historic District Commission. I'm writing in support of installing the 10 EV stations downtown using the ARPA funding. This is an important opportunity for Fairfield to move towards sustainable energy and reduce pollution from cars. I'm very excited for the town's EV fleet to lead the way. I hope you'll support the EV charging stations. Thanks, Charles Mazzone. That's all the letters. One question: Are these charging stations going to be open to the public, or just for town vehicles?
The idea is just for the town vehicles. There is capability of, with a flick of a switch to make them revenue charging stations. But that is not the goal.
Yep.
I am overwhelmed at the support. I did not know that was going to happen, and have a question if those letters are going to be part of the minutes, and I can get the names of the people that wrote them. Is that normal?
Of course.
Okay.
The minutes will be public, so you can definitely get them off the public minutes. But I can also send them to you if you like.
That would be great. That was overwhelming. I had no idea that was happening. And I have to say that one of the things that on one of the letters was the forward thinking. Since we have done this and have gone, since we've started this process, I'm on a website with other Connecticut municipalities, an email chain with other Connecticut municipalities, and they're all asking for just copies and ideas of RFPs and stuff like that to go out. We are one of the first municipalities attempting to do this.
Yeah, sounds great. Is there anyone in the public who would care to speak in favor of this application? Please speak up now.
This is Mary Hogue. I sent my email very late. I was wondering if I could speak in favor.
Of course.
So yeah, I'm sorry, I was busy and I couldn't say in advance, but yes, I'm very much in favor of it. I too think that this is very forward thinking, but also essential. It's actually maybe even perhaps a little late, but most important as the Historic District Commission, I think, because it's behind Sullivan and it's far enough away from the street, my thinking is from your perspective, I don't think it would be harmful in terms of a view concern of the beautification. I actually, as the forestry committee, planted the tree that you were talking about for Judge Caruso, and we actually planted it over there to kind of shield the view, and we planted the other plants around that. What is that called, James?
That's the transformer, Mary, and
transformer. Right.
for the time being, we will have to remove the hedges. I'm sorry if they're
Oh.
not hedges, just so that we can perform the work to the transformer. Those
Oh,
doors
okay.
those doors have to swing open, and there should be 36 inches of clearance in front of that. But when all eyes are off of that transformer, they will go back.
Get my hand on. Yeah, they're hollies, which the deer love, so we should never have planted them, but the people that wanted to get them in there, that was the Burr Garden folks. So yeah, well, maybe when all's said and done, you can paint it the dark green that we were promised it would be painted, so it will disappear a little more. So that's another aesthetic
Simple.
thing. That would be lovely. So that would also make things look prettier. But I think that, I don't think that this would detract from the view of a parking lot. And I think if you take a look at what a EV charger looks like, it's really pretty unobtrusive. And the cars, well, as James says, we're going from 30 to 20, and it really won't demonstrably make a visual difference. So and it will certainly make a very big difference in terms of the environment. And I'm told that they will be, I think Becky Bunnell's note about the flood and erosion, they will be set up a bit higher to be ready for additional flooding that we are expecting. So climate change is happening. We are getting extra water, and that is in the plan, I believe. So that is already contemplated. So thank you. Sorry to take so long.
Thank you, Mary. James, just to be clear, the height was specified at 71 inches.
The height is specified at 71 inches on that, that one page, that the juice bar charger
Just
is.
to be clear, that if this gets approved, that's what's approved. So I know you mentioned
Well,
raising it for future flooding, and it's not really incorporated in the proposal.
Adam, in the plans, there's a survey on the stamp drawing. The survey has the height of the base. Of each one. The attempt is to get these all at the same level, so they all look uniform at the same height. And the ground is not level.
And what is the base? What is the
So
base?
the base is the footing. The footing is, in some cases, going to be 1 point. So look at the elevation, the EV charging station number 1. The ground elevation is 7.5. The height base is 1.7. The height of the base. The height of the charger is 72 inches. The height of the base is at that location is going to be 1.7 inches. Or 1.7 feet.
Foundation's going to be 1.7 feet out of the ground.
Yep.
Yes.
So we're going to have 1.7 feet of concrete above the ground.
Well, no, then we will backfill around the base, but it's the level that it is right now. We need to make that base, to make them all the same height. That base right now has to be 1.7 feet high, or coming out right now.
That's the tallest base, Adam.
That is the tallest base. I picked that one because if you add the two, it is 7 feet, 7 inches. So to say that it's not part of the 72 inches is what's proposed here. I wanted to just make that clear.
I mean, yeah, it wasn't clear before, so
I'm sorry, I didn't need to, I didn't know I needed
I
to.
don't think you ever mentioned it.
Right,
It's on the submittal.
No, I see it is, but I didn't decipher and I'm not even clear as to what the height of the base is versus so if you're going up 1.7 feet, it raises the overall height by 1.7 feet of the charging unit.
yes, and the idea is to make them all the same level from a distance. So that's why there's some, the ground is not all the same level over there, and that where the dumpster area is, that's a low spot. That number 1 and number 2 are low. Now, yeah, we're gonna put the footing and the base, and then we're gonna fill some soil and all that around it. So you don't wanna look at the concrete. That's gonna be our goal. But the reason why that is on the plan is that is the plan, to make them all the same height, and that's how you get there, by doing a survey, an elevation survey.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear what we're voting on. So the top of these chargers are going to be at 7 feet, 7 inches above grade.
No.
Yeah,
Above that grade, 1 and 2, right? The other grade
okay.
is higher. The other grade
It'd
is
be
higher.
less,
Yes.
correct. So at the might be 77 inches
Yeah.
or 78 inches.
Yep. At number 10, you're correct. And so
Okay,
on and so
it's
forth. Yep.
just,
It's there. That's all. I just wanted to make sure it's there.
yeah. Sorry, just think we need to. I mean, I wasn't aware of that in terms of what we were voting on, so now I am. And that's it. I don't think, is there anyone who wants to speak against this application? Or does anyone else want to speak in favor? Let me ask that first. Okay. No.
Adam, could I ask,
Anyone
I'd like to
first?
just ask a clarifying question to
Sure.
James. So one of the applications, or one of the letters that came in favor of the application talked about, the rising waters and the fact that these should be located above the base flood elevation. I don't see any, I see ground elevation and I see height of base, but I don't know what the base flood elevation is. Isn't it like 12?
Ground elevation. So, Chris, a little bit out of my territory, but this plan and survey was done by the engineering department and approved by the zoning department, and the building department, and they will not approve the permit, obviously without your blessing, but also if it is, not according to the flood requirements. So I can't really answer your question what the goal is here, but let's according to operable
So the
parts
transformer has to be all
not
the
to
parts on
exceed,
12.
so the operable parts are not to exceed 54 inches in height. So I can't go that high and I can't go that low. So there's requirements that I have to stay under. What the goal is, that's a question for the engineering department. I mean, as far as 12 inches, it doesn't seem that way. 12 feet. If it's 7.5 plus 1.7, you got 9. What is that? 9.2. I'm trying to do quick
0.2.
math. Yeah, something to that effect. And it adds up to each one the same, correct? So
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the base flood elevation is.
it
and-
looks like 9.2 to me. That's according to the ground elevation plus the height base.
No, the base flood elevation is something that's set by,
Okay, and then, I'm sorry, and then the pedestal base. So if we go to the last page, and I have to zoom in. The pedestal base.
Yeah, the whole
because-
unit's like raised like 16 inches off the ground, right?
Yeah, I can't really read
Or more.
I can't read my application, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't either.
Um,
I know what the total height is.
pedestal is 34.25 inches. So 34.25.
So 2
It's,
foot
uh,
square.
2.8 feet. About, so add that to, and it doesn't say it anywhere. I'm surprised the engineering department didn't put that, but, so then you add 2.8 feet to that elevation. So 7.5 plus 1.7 is 9.2, and then 2.8 is 10, 11, 12. 12. You're right, Chris. That's it. That's how they get there.
And that's
Okay.
the bottom of the charging unit.
That's the bottom of the charging unit. Yep. That's what they're saying.
Okay,
that's,
and the
that's
transformer
above
is,
mean, that's above mean sea level, I think. 12 feet above mean sea level. I think. Anyway,
is the
thank
transformer
you
raised as
for
well?
answering my question.
Is the transformer raised as well, or whatever that thing is actually called?
Yes, it
Ground
is. Yep. Yes.
So it's saying that the ground elevation is 8.4, so that needs to be 3.6 feet off the ground?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else care to speak from the commission? Okay. Is there, ask if anyone wants to speak in favor? I think we had one person, and anyone want to speak oppose the application? I'm not hearing anything. And the hearing's closed. Thanks, Ryan. James?
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is Old South Road LLC, 171 Old South Road in Southport, for property located at 171 Old South Road in Southport for A, changes to existing fence.
Hi, my name is John Stevens. I'm with Franzen Associate Architects. Jack couldn't be here because he's traveling, so he asked me to fill in. We're representing the Ryan residents at 171 Old South Road. And first, I want to apologize. We didn't add this to the previous agenda because we weren't aware of, as a firm, we weren't aware of the fence being put up. Or else we would have put that with the agenda beforehand. So hopefully we're not wasting your time on this. Basically the fence is going on the east side property line, and it's being covered by privets, bushes all the way from the gate all the way up. And if you want, I can share the screen.
Yes,
And
please
again, I
do.
apologize. This is my first time doing this. So if I'm
Sorry.
not doing it correctly, let me know. That's. Oop. Did I share, am I sharing it? I'm sorry if I'm doing it
Yes.
wrong.
Yeah, we can see it, John. Thanks.
You're good.
So thank you. So it's basically coming from the east side here, from the gate all the way back to around here. And it's a metal mesh fence, and then it's hidden by privet bushes on both sides of the property. And
You have anything else to
pretty-
add?
and that's pretty much the, I think this was the last part of the ordeal, we'll call it.
Okay. Darren, you have any questions?
None for me.
Thank you. Rosina, questions? I'm sorry, George, questions?
Yeah, the picture, you've installed the fence, correct?
The fence was installed, yes.
Okay.
It was done prior to us knowing about it.
Yeah, okay, I have no questions.
Jim, do you have any questions? Jim Bohan?
No questions, thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I don't have any questions either. Is anyone from the public to speak in favor of this application? Anyone like to speak against this application? Okay, hearing's closed. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Next application is Kyle and Alana Griswold, 298 Harbor Road in Southport, for property located at 298 Harbor Road in Southport for A, new doors units at existing side porch, replace side lights. B, new lantern sconces at side porch. C, new lanterns front door, remove overhead fixture, light, overhead fixture. D, new transom over windows, kitchen, and wood louver gable. E, replace existing garage doors and passage door. F, new lanterns, sconces at garage, remove existing soffit lights. And G, new front door to match existing.
Well, again, hi, John Stevens, Friends and Associate Architects, representing the Griswold residents. Am I still sharing, or do I have to share again?
You have to share again. I have to pull up
Okay.
the other application.
Here we go. So basically, this is, what I'm showing is the elevation.
It's not up yet.
Is
Oh,
it
there
up
it is.
now?
Thank you.
So,
Yep.
So the elevation is, this is the Harbor Road elevation, and actually this is the main, where the doors that we're proposing, because the door that's there is a, there's some rot to it, and there's some, it needs to be replaced. So we're thinking of replacing it. It's in the same opening. The trim around it will be, the architrave is gonna be the same. We're gonna try to, it's gonna be paint grade, just like what's there right now. We're gonna follow the same profiles as what's there. And we're also proposing, there's a sconce that's above, actually cutting into the top molding of the top of the door. We're trying to replace that with two side flanking sconces, which would be, if I go down to here, similar to this. It would be this right here, and then just to give you, this would be the sconce that we're replacing, and we would put two on either side of it. And if you look at this space here, this is some part of the rot. There's actually about a 1-inch hole there where actually vermins are coming in. Lana actually put tape over there to hold it from anything coming in. And so that's pretty much what's on the 1831 cape. We're not really doing interior, and then we're going to do some repairs, minor repairs, which changing some of the windows. The driveway side is the top. This top is the existing, and this is the what we're proposing. We're doing the kitchen itself. We're creating a cathedral ceiling. So we want to try to get as much light as we possibly can. So we're proposing 3 transoms over the windows that are there, and they're going to have the same style, same and same height, same width as the below. So they're going to be matching in there. And we're also proposing a louver, which is really just cosmetic than actual use because it's going to be cathedral ceiling. It's just to break up the space because right now they have a louver above there in the gable right now, which is a larger area. So we're just creating a smaller thing, and it's going to just give it a cosmetic look. The kitchen wing is, it seems like the house was built in 1831, and there were several additions done. And we believe that the kitchen was done in either in the 20s, renovated in the 80s because through the windows that are there, they look like the windows are like 80s style windows. So because also I happen to see a map that I can show that too, of Southport, like between 1871 and 1888, and where I show is red. Do you see the map? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the map where it's circled red, that's the house. That's the Captain Buckley's house, and as you can see, it's only showing the cape part of it, the center part of the house. It doesn't have any addition of that time. So, and what we've seen in the foundation and also, the structure inside, it seems like it was done later in like 1900. So what we're proposing then is to go back to this one, is to do the transom and add the louver above it. And then where there's this was done probably in the 2000 areas. It's a mudroom where right now it's a center door with 2 flanking side lights. And what we're proposing to do is add 3 doors across to try to, again, create more light coming into the space because right now it's pretty dark for what you have there. And then we're proposing to remove the 2 side sconces and add 2 flanking sconces to the door unit. The third item on this list would be proposing there's soffit lights in the garage. They're like square. If I can, I think I have photos of those. These would be the what's there right now. So we're proposing to get rid of them and create and add lanterns on either side of the garage door. So, and then we're also proposing to square off the corners of the garage door, create a cottage, a carriage type overhead doors where we have glass at the top and panels below. And again, this would be paint grade mahogany. And then we would propose changing the door that's there. That's a 2-panel door to glass on top and a panel below, again, to create more light coming into the garage. And I believe I covered all of the items. So if there's any questions.
Okay, thank you. George, you have any questions?
The window in the gable, the vent in the gable, that's strictly for aesthetics inside?
Yes, because it's going to be a cathedral ceiling. And what we're going to do is it's basically going all the way up or close to the top as possible. It's, so we're going to have a flat area there but it's not going to do anything for it. It's more aesthetics. To try to keep it to that 1980 or 1920 to 1980 edition.
And can you show the image of the lanterns on the garage?
Sure. The photograph of them, or
Yes, please.
sure. It would be similar to, it would be a little smaller than this, but it's similar to this. This would be it's from Carolina Lanterns.
Mm-hmm. And those are consistent with the ones on either side of the front, for the front door?
Yes, we're trying to match all of them, so they
Oh,
all have some
oh.
rhythm.
Okay. No, I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Jim?
No questions. Thank you very much.
Chris?
Yeah, hi, John. So you're gonna take the existing triple window in the gable, and you're gonna like direct mull some transom windows to it, kind of in the field?
Well, actually, these windows are being replaced because they're single pane. And the other side, well, it's funny. I think these are casement windows that were done in the 80s, and we're replacing those with True Device SDLs. With wood, it would be wood material, and we're going to go with like a Norwood type of window where it has the thin stiles and rails to match it, and then we're going to introduce the transom to that.
So the existing casement windows are gonna be replaced.
Right. They
Okay,
were
but
under
I
a
don't
work
think
order.
It doesn't really say that on the.
Well, that we were doing that under a work order, a blue form.
Okay. But you're changing the whole look of it from a just,
We're if we were just doing the blue form, you would see those three casement windows. What we're proposing to do is do the transom above them to create a taller look to it, but to be able to get sun into that space.
okay. And then the existing door and side lights, to me, and I could be looking at the picture wrong, the photograph wrong, but it looks to me like that existing set of stairs is, is further away from the garage. And now it looks like maybe it's gonna be centered, but maybe that's an
We're
illusion
not
because of
touching that at this point. We might be coming back to you guys to create a new look to that. We're still talking about that, and also we don't have we weren't allowed to have the survey. The survey wasn't up to date, so we weren't able to bring that to that presentation. So we're thinking of it would be the next hearing. We would show a new stairs, but that would be a separate hearing.
Okay,
So if it's drawn off a little bit, Chris, it would probably, I would go with what's existing right now. We're not touching it at this point until we bring it back to you guys.
okay. And then on your cuts for the casement window, looks like you're calling for brick mold casing.
No, I just
The
said
drawings kind of look like it's gonna be flat casing.
it's actually going to be flat casing. What I was just showing this as just a sample of what type of window it's going to be. It's going to be a wood window. I should have written out there saying the casing is not part of it.
Okay.
We would match what's existing.
And that would all be wood.
It would be wood, correct?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, John. Those are my
Thank you.
questions.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. So just so you know, Christy, a lot of the windows are being replaced through a repair order because they're all Roscoe windows from the 80s, I guess, and not great condition. So just so you know. Darren, do you have any questions?
No questions from me.
No questions? No questions from me. Would anyone from the public like to speak in favor of this application? Would anyone like to speak against this application? Okay, the hearing is closed.
Thank you for hearing
John.
us.
The next application is Eric and Heather Mayland, 1386 Hillside Road in Fairfield, for property located at 1386 Hillside Road in Fairfield for a new one-story wood frame, 150 square foot box bay addition to existing home.
Hi, this is John Wozalewski. I'm with Davis Scott Parker Architects, and I am representing Eric and Heather Mullen, the residents at 1386 Hillside Road. And if I'm going to go ahead and share a screen. I just want to say preemptively, we have had some intermittent internet problems. If I lose signal, it's been consistent throughout this meeting, but I do have a backup, and it'll take me about 30 seconds to come back on. I'm going to go ahead and share a screen. Okay, and I trust you can all see my screen now. Yes.
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 Okay, great. Okay, so this is the survey of the property, which I know we were here discussing not so long ago. Here is this to orient you. This is Hillside Road and Old Academy. The residence is here. The primary access is through a driveway here with a turnaround and a one-story garage over here. The proposed addition of box bay is at this corner right here. Okay. And here's a closer up view of the house so you can see the arrangement of this a little better. Now, the house has evolved a lot over the years. It's basically, aesthetically, it's a colonial revival house with some Greek revival details. It has had a long and storied past with many different owners and many different evolutions in its building history. The original home from the 1830s was here. That was very, most likely a barn. This addition here was done around the 1870s. The porch here also done around that time. In the 1920s, these bays were added to this side of the house, and that same architect in the 50s added the portico that faces Hillside Road. Moving on, in the 1960s, this garage, which was first a salt box in form, was added over here. And then later in the 80s, that same garage was renovated and it turned to a pedimented gable with the ornate cupola. That was done in the 80s. This breezeway was done also in the 80s. And then this, what had been an open porch over here, had been enclosed in the 80s and made into interior space. Our firm did this large addition for the previous owner. That started happening in the late 80s, 89, 90. This portico was also done shortly thereafter. And then these grand steps that go out to the back were added a little bit later on. And then finally, in the late 1990s, early 2000s, there was some work along the front of the garage to correct some of the detailing in this area. It also to say that there's been a lot of work done on the house and a lot of different things, although, and from the original 1830s, there's really nothing on the exterior that remains. But as a whole, much of it, and most of it is consistent with, its colonial revival character. Now, the kitchen in the house, which there's been a kitchen at least since the time of when the Warners owned the property, is in this area. And you can sort of see how large that is relative to the rest of the property. It's a fairly small kitchen. It's wide for galley, but it is essentially galley kitchen. And it is undersized for the house. And credited as one of the reasons why it was as difficult for the previous owner to sell the property. You can see a blow up here, and again, this is you can see the existing kitchen. You can see the again, essentially a galley, and not quite wide enough for an island. The hope here is to add this modest addition, to add on the box bay here, and to push out to get another foot here to give us enough space to get an island in the kitchen and really have this be more functional by today's standards. The older kitchen, as a service kitchen done in the mid 20th century, was consistent with what people used at that time. We're really trying to get something now that is consistent with how people use the home today, but do so in a way that is respectful to the character, the exterior of the house. This is what you can see from the street, and there is a lot of it's concealed with foliage, but there is a stone wall, field stone wall that runs across here. You can see a little bit here if you peer carefully. It depends how big your screen is. There's also this decorative wood railing or fencing that runs across that wall. This is a view of the front of the house. Basically, as it is now, with our 3D model that also includes the box bay addition, and you can't see from here. You really can't see it when you're looking directly out from the front door, standing across the street, and seeing the street line in the foreground. From there, it's not so visible, or not visible at all. This is the view, sort of stepping actually inside the gates of the driveway, looking back toward the house. And you can sort of see in the far distance here, this is that side of the house that's in question, and the single window over in the enclosed porch that is proposed to be changed to a ganged window. This is now standing in the property right up against the house. You can note the irregular placement of windows along this facade. The porch that dates the 1870s, the 1950s portico, and in the foreground here you can see the 1980s breezeway that was done. And then a view of the house which shows the addition of this box bay. From here, the mold window that we're proposing to add is completely obscured. And then again here, another view of that. The box bay would be in here, and here's a detail of it. This has been located carefully to avoid any interference with the shutter on this window. All the windows are proposed to match the size and detailing of the existing double hung windows in the house. The pilasters, the entablature, all take their clues from the adjacent additions and millwork. So they are all proposed to match, and they would be painted wood. Here's now an elevation of the side that shows a really sort of full-sided flat elevation. You can see the bay and its relationship to this existing window. You can also see the single window that's proposed to be changed to a mold window. Note that when you're looking at this drawing, this section is at an angle, and so even though these appear more slender, they really, if you were to flatten them out, they would actually match these proportions, as these are detailed based on these. And then side elevations of that, you can see again the one side which is looking this way, and I can see this little bit of elevation here. And then the other side looking in this direction, I can see this elevation here. I can see the one window. And then back here is the single window that is proposed to be changed to the mall. And now details of that, again, all of this is taken off of the existing. These windows match the size and detailing of the existing, and they would all be wood, painted wood windows. This ganged window here, which is something you do find in colonial revival homes. It's not inappropriate for the period of the house, for the aesthetic of the house. And again, these windows match other windows that are on the side of the house. And that's it. I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Thank you, John. Jim, would you like to start?
Thank you. Thank you very much. So it looks like that addition in the kitchen is going 4 feet out, as I understand.
Yes.
To what extent will the stone wall screen that?
Well, right now it's hard to say because it's so heavily planted. I can't, there's the stone wall and fencing is there, but it's.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. It might be my reception, but.
Okay. What I was saying is, right now you won't see any of it because there's so much, it's so densely planted and has such a heavy barrier that it would be impossible to see any of it right now unless you actually drive into the driveway and look in. Did you hear me, Jim, or no?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay. You look like you're
Yeah,
having trouble hearing me,
sounds
Jim.
Yeah, I'm having a great deal of difficulty understanding you. And this is
Okay.
the first time it's happened in this session, so.
Okay, I'll go through again and maybe just try speaking a little more slowly. Is this any better?
Yeah, I heard your presentation perfectly. I heard every
Okay.
word, but now
Okay.
you seem to be breaking up.
Well, just to repeat one more time, right
Yep,
now
thank you.
you won't be able to see anything from the street because it's so densely planted. I can't even see the wall. There's about a 20 to 30
Okay.
foot deep planting barrier, so none of it will be visible from the street at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. It looks like you're going to great lengths to preserve this gorgeous house. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Chris?
John, thank you very much for your presentation. Very nicely done. And I think it looks appropriate, and I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Chris. Darren?
Hi, John.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Well, I have to say it looks very sympathetically designed, and I can see how sensitively you've kind of thought about this. I just have one question. It's just a really random question. It looks like in slide 10 that there's quite a big tree right next to where this addition is going to go, and I know there's some changes being proposed to the windows behind that tree. Is that tree coming down?
No, it's our hope that it's not. I really hope it's to keep it, and I'll show you right now. Just to jump back in real quickly. Right now let's go from here. Okay, so the tree is over in this area, right? And
Yeah.
to go to the next one here. It's in this area. So the plan now is we're putting a full foundation under this, and then it'll be grade beam here. So we're not really digging down in this area, so we can avoid the roots here. They've actually had a couple of different arborists take a look at the tree, and we've been working really closely with our structural engineer to come up with a strategy to be able to keep the tree with, or the tree's not necessarily in great shape. So but we really want to preserve that tree for as long as possible because it's and for, the owner, it was really a non-starter. If they really would like this because it's going to make their home much more usable, but they also really want to keep that tree. So we're taking great efforts to preserve it.
Good.
Yeah, I know it's not really our jurisdiction to look at landscaping, but just from an ambiance point, and I know the cell clerk was part of the landscape architects, I think. So it just looks like it's concurrent for that time period. And I was just curious. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
We're very concerned as well, and we're trying our best to have it all if we can.
That's
That
it
it,
from me.
Darren? Okay, thank you, George.
Yes, hi. Very good presentation, and thank you very much, and I have no questions.
Thanks, George. John, I don't have any questions either. I think it's a nicely detailed box bay. Seems appropriate to me. Does anyone from the public care to speak in favor of this application? Would anyone like to speak against the application? Okay, so the hearing's closed. Thank you, John.
Thank you for your time.
Next item on the agenda is David and Tina Montani, 920 Old Post Road, Fairfield, for property located at 920 Old Post Road in Fairfield. 4A, construct new single-family house on a detached garage. B, install a new asphalt driveway. C, install new fence along front of property. D, install new brick stoop and walkways. And E, install new AC condensing units.
Hello, everybody. Brian St. Pierre, speaking on behalf of David and Tina Montani. Thank you all for hearing our application again. Happy to be back, and hopefully we can make some progress here today. First, before I even start, I want to take 1 second to thank the board and the chair. The last month and a half, we've had some pretty good discussions, including on-site visits where we were able to walk the property and excuse me, and point and talk about different items in more detail. And for me, it was very beneficial, and I hope that it was, and I believe it was beneficial for the board members that attended also. So again, I just want to say thank you for your time. You guys didn't have to do that, and I appreciate you giving up some time during your day during the week to talk it through. So jumping into the application, obviously, as Adam just spoke, we're attempting to build a single family 2-story home at the property of 920 Old Post Road. And along with that goes with everything for a new home in terms of a driveway, and walkways, fences, so on and so forth, which we'll dive into, and I know covered in other presentations. We're also removing an existing shed in the rear of the property, and also the basketball court on the property located at 920 Old Post. I want to start by kind of going through the major changes that we made from our previous application back in July. Again, we'll touch on the specifics of moldings and things like that as we go in this presentation. But in terms of the major changes, the major one was the removal of the gable on the front side of the home. In our last presentation, we had sorry, I'm going to share my screen here, you guys. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we removed there was a gable on the previous application above the front wall here, a front facing, road facing gable with an arched top window and, some decorative cornice details. We removed that, and by doing so, it helped us with several different issues that not only the board, but also the members of the public had in previous discussions. First and foremost, by removing that gable, we were able to, I believe, reduce the massing issue or the massing concern of this property. As I mentioned, that previous gable was here in the front, forward facing to the road, and by eliminating it, we were able to have that roof slope away from us, from the street and the sidewalk, thus reducing the appearance of a flat wall that goes up 30 feet. So, in terms of massing, there's no doubt that this has reduced that, and in turn, it solved a lot of other issues that we talked about with the style of the home and different elements of the home. By removing it, also, we were able to get rid of the arched top window, which was a concern that it wasn't matching in the style of the neighborhood, of the different houses. And also, we had a cornice detail that went across the gable that was not similar to other homes, across the street and next door. Also, by eliminating that gable and having the gable roof run away from us, it's more in keeping with what is relevant in the entire neighborhood. Almost every house on that street has a roof that faces this way and not a forward facing gable. So we feel like it was more fitting with the neighborhood and more fitting with the style of the neighborhood to remove that front gable. Lastly, by sticking on this gable, by removing the gable, What we also did was simplify the home. And what I mean by that is that gable had a lot of detail in it in terms of the window detail and the cornice detail. And by simplifying the home, we were able to not compete with the historic home that's to the left of this home if you're looking at it from the street. And we'll get back to that. That's an important issue that we're going to talk about. But I know that taking focus away from this home and onto the historic home is a great concern of everybody in the neighborhood, including the board. So our goal is not to compete, not to not to take away from the spotlight, so to speak, of the historic home next door. And by eliminating that gable, we believe that we achieve that. This is a much more simplistic home, and feel that it's fitting now with the style and the architecture of the neighborhood. Also, the position of the home, as we all know, it's set off the street 30 feet. And in addition, we sit roughly 17 feet off of the left side setback. So there's currently a fence along the property line on the left side. We currently sit roughly 17 feet off this front corner. And there's another distance of roughly 25 feet from the fence to the historic home to the left. So adding that up, there's roughly 42 feet between the two buildings. Again, not to compete with that home and take away from the public seeing it from the road. I was able to get out there and stake out the property, stake out the corners of this building. So this house sits roughly just north of the center ridge of the historic home to the left. So when you are coming down Old Post Road, not only do we believe that you will see the historic home to the left, but we believe you'll see the entire side of that home based on the position and height and so on and so forth of the building. Some other changes that we made were very simple changes. We had barn sash windows located in the two bathrooms that were here kind of in the center of the building next to the front door. We've replaced those with the more appropriate double hung windows with shutters on either side, and tried to match the height the best we could, along the front. But we believe by having smaller windows, it gives some more definition to this addition or this side addition of the home. It makes it look like it's more appropriate. I know we touched a lot on the specific details of this home in previous, but I'll touch on some of them now. Windows will be Pella Architect Series wood windows, SDLs, and they are an all wood window, 6/6, with historic sills and wood trim details. The front door is a Simpson mahogany door with matching side lights. The brick that we're going to be using on the home, not only on the front stoop, the walkway, and also the chimney at the top of the ridge, is a Chicago used brick. And I believe the details in this application. If you want to see a picture. Also, the siding is all wood clapboard siding with 4-inch trim boards on each end. We also have a few lights actually one light that will be visible, but I also added the lights that will be on the garage in the rear of the building, or the rear of the property, I'm sorry. We have one hanging pendant light that's over the front door underneath the portico. And that's a Rosetta 4-light pendant with clear glass. And I believe there's a picture of the application of that. And I think that's it for the home. The driveway will be an asphalt driveway, black asphalt driveway, typical to what's there in the neighborhood. As I mentioned, the walkways will all be that Chicago used brick leading up to the front door and also, out to the driveway. And the fence, we will be adding a fence. We'll be adding a fence and a gate along the front of the property here along Old Post Road. That fence is an all wood fence that will be custom made, and it matches the fence that's in the neighborhood currently. See if I can find that detail. Here we go. There's a detail of that fence, and again, I believe in the pictures I showed the neighborhood of, I call it the Old Post Road fence. Everybody seems to have the same one, same details, and it would be painted white, like most of the others. So with that, again, I really wanted to discuss the changes that we made from the previous proposal and kind of our reasoning behind it. I think we've achieved not only making the home more appropriate for the neighborhood, but also not competing with the historic home next door, and making the home fit the property and fit the neighborhood. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions. Happy to answer, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Brian. Chris, can you start?
Sure. Thanks, Brian. A couple of questions. So on the front elevation that you're sharing your screen with now, the portico to me seems out of scale. It seems like the mass of it is too big, and it seems to kind of run past the body of the main body of the home. I wondered if you guys had considered during the design of maybe just a single door without the side lights, which would enable that portico to come back off the edge a little bit.
The answer is basically twofold. One, we could definitely consider a single door. For us, the idea of doing the side lights was that entryway, if we go to the floor plan, is very closed off and would be very, very dark, if you will. So we were trying to maximize the light that was coming into that property, or I'm sorry, into that foyer area. In terms of it going past, I think it's really just a drawing detail here of showing kind of the roof. Basically our header, in terms of construction wise, our header will align with the side wall of the home here. And, this is a small detail that comes up, typical that you'd see. No problem bringing that in, a couple inches, so that, I understand what you're saying, Chris. If that roof line just died into the roof instead of a little profile there, we're happy to do that. I mean, that's easy enough.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, to me, it just seemed a little bit out of scale for the home. It takes up a big portion of the main body of the house on that elevation. And then my other question is kind of more practical than maybe design, but I'm just wondering I've always had this question, but I haven't really posed it yet. It just seems like if you go to maybe the site plan, it seems to me as though the driveway really gets very narrow as it tries to get to the backyard, to get to the garage. And I'm wondering, is that even practical? I mean, it seems too narrow, and I don't know what the what the standard is, like the architectural standard is for a typical driveway width, but when you go to plow that driveway, snow plow that driveway, it seems like you're going to be faced with potential issues with snow removal and hitting the house.
Yeah, so I think the map is a little deceiving, Chris. This is a second floor over that little white square there is really a second floor overhang. So the first floor sits back off of that area there. The driveway is a standard I believe he put in a 15-foot wide driveway. So the narrowest we can go would be somewhere in the 12, somewhere in that 12 to 10 foot range. Again, this was kind of the surveyor laying this out and putting this driveway in, but duly noted. Thank you for the suggestion and thank you for making me aware of it.
Okay.
Yeah, not sure really how to answer it other than obviously we're going to make it work.
Okay.
The best we can.
Brian, it's Chris Russo with Russo and Rizzio LLC on behalf of the applicant. The driveway is compliant under the regulations. 10 feet is what's required in the under the regs, zoning regulations. And so that driveway would be compliant, that land surveying is laid out.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I didn't mean to imply it wasn't compliant. I was just more interested in the fact that it looks like it comes right up against the home, and typically, there's usually a little bit of space between the driveway and the home. And then is there any sort of detail at the driveway edge? Does the paving just stop and then there's a lawn, or is there some sort of a curb or a something to retain define the pavement, or does it just go to grass?
Yeah. So at this time, Chris, for this application, we don't currently have any edging that goes along the driveway. I fully understand that if we need to put in an edging, it's something that we need to come back to you for. No, at this time, we just have asphalt dying into grass.
Yeah, and that's not an issue as far as it being appropriate or not. I just wondered because it didn't have a detail.
Yep,
Thank you. Those were my questions.
No problem. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Darren?
Hi, Brian. Thanks for addressing a lot of my concerns with the facade. I know we had discussions at the pre-application meeting. I know we've talked about this and I just honestly can't remember. Can you explain to me why there's that little indentation on the front again where the bathroom is on the first floor?
Yeah, so we did talk about that last time we were out at the site.
I just can't remember. I'm sorry.
No problem. We said, in terms of this house, we were trying to, make the main portion of the house, as let me scroll down here as I'm talking, make the main portion of the house look like, kind of the original room. And then, over the years, it's had that add-on feature to it. I was concerned with having a full, 2-story wall again in between these in terms of, scale and depth and so on and so forth. It really was to break up that mass of the wall, of what is there. And again, something that I know we discussed, I thought we went this way in terms of, it being more appropriate to look like an addition onto the home, but more than willing to even flush out that wall, with the addition part. But the reasoning behind it was more of the massing of the building to kind of give it some depth and give it some dimension, rather than just two, big flat walls on the front of the house.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember what we discussed at this point. I think that's my only question. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Darren.
Thank you, Darren. George?
I think the questions that I have been covered. Thank you very much.
George?
Jim?
Thank you very much for addressing our concerns. It looks like you've done it very nicely. May I just add, adding to Chris's point, as an owner of a property with kind of congested driveway and having faced some very deep snows, Chris's comment about snow plowing is, I take heed to that because actually when the snow turns to ice, that could be a major problem, a pile of ice up against the side of the house. But other than that, nice presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jane. And yeah, absolutely. Once we get into this, we'll make sure that the surveyor has this laid out where there's at least some greenery in between the house and the driveway itself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you.
I just have a couple of comments. There are some discrepancies. I'm surprised that there's, seeing as this is what, the third time you've been with us?
Okay.
Discrepancies
Yep,
in
third
the
time.
survey, the footprint of the survey, the floor plan, and the elevations.
Okay.
So you're showing you're showing a jog out on the survey on the left side.
Go back to that.
Right.
Which
So
jog out?
pops
There's a lot of them.
See how it pops out on the left side?
On the driveway side here, Chris? Or I'm sorry, Adam?
Yeah. Where it
Yep.
goes back 10 feet or something, and then it jogs out a couple feet and then goes back. So the floor plan doesn't represent that, doesn't reflect that. Okay. And then if you look at the elevations, so if you go to your floor plan, also the dimensions are different. But anyway, so you go to your floor plan and there doesn't seem to be that bump out.
Yeah, we definitely flushed that wall out. I apologize. I thought the surveyor caught that when I sent him the changes. But yes.
Okay, that's okay if the surveyor didn't. So we'll go by your floor plan. So go back to your floor plan.
Yes.
And then looking at the second floor plan.
Let me zoom out here.
You showed some sort of bump out.
I see that now. Yeah, that one's my mistake. I missed that one on the.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And if you have, now you're jogging out on the second floor and the 46 feet is still the same. So the width is accurate, is the same as the first floor, yeah? For the front of the house?
Yes. So the
46
the
feet?
walls do align. So the first floor is drawn correctly. As
right.
that little bump that we used to have here in this corner is now flush with the outside wall. And my apologies. Yes, the second floor still the floor plan still shows that recess. However, it is going to be flush along this whole wall.
Okay.
On the second floor. You meant, but
On
just
the
a
second
second ago, you
floor,
said that the second floor was overhanging.
In the back, there's
Is it not?
a little indentation in the back, Adam. This one here. So the second floor wall comes over and across the back of so there's that.
Just in that back corner.
Hang in the back.
Okay, so if we go to the elevations, that side elevation.
Yep, let me put that here.
I'm not seeing that. I mean, I see one way. I see, it looks like the volume.
Yeah, so we have the
Like
jog back.
Much greater than what you have drawn.
Yeah, the jog back. I'm trying to get my bearings here. Give me 1 second.
And then you show on the front elevation, let me go back, let me add on to this confusion.
Yeah, okay.
So the front elevation, or that side elevation, go back to the, or I'm sorry, go to the front.
Front.
And I know we talked about, you're gonna show a break in the roof line. And you do on the, on the front elevation, but then when you go to the side elevation, you know, to that right side elevation, you know, with the chimney,
Gotcha.
it's showing the roof, flush.
The roof line is level there. Yep.
So, anyway.
Yeah, so I guess
you know, the amount of time
what
you've been in front of us, that's a lot of discrepancies. You know what I mean?
Understandable.
I mean, I honestly, I don't have an issue with the design of the house. I think it's an attractive looking house, and I don't have an issue with the setbacks because I think it's you know, within the zoning regulations, and I think it's you know, it's set back enough that it doesn't compete with the adjacent historic homes. But you know, I'm having a little trouble with the discrepancies and all the details, or not even the details, the big volume stuff. I mean, the floor plans aren't accurate, the elevations aren't accurate. You know, I was hoping that at this point in the game, you would have, you know, everything's figured out and presented so that we can understand it. And not only that, we don't have a streetscape, which I think you tried to do before. I think you had something at one point.
Yep, I did. I believe, was it not included in this because I have?
No.
All right, here.
And I know it's been promised and overpromised.
Yep. So this streetscape was submitted. Can you see the screen? I'm sorry. So this was submitted in the previous application, and I apologize if it wasn't in this new application, but this was the streetscape that was provided to you in the past, where it shows, you know, we made. I apologize. This one doesn't have the.
Is the house
double
setback?
hungs.
Is the house setback in this?
The house setback is you know, where it would be in relation to, you know, the historic home next door, and then obviously you can't see the garage, but the other garage is here behind these trees. This was scaled, you know, from Google Maps and the home.
Right. I understand. Do you have any other views of it, like from the side? I mean, it'd be nice to see what it looks like from the side, looking at the house to the left.
I don't, because this was the one that was asked of us, you know, to kind of step back and get the two homes on either side. So I apologize. I don't have the updated one without the gable of the blown up version of just this home.
Okay. Okay. Well, those are my comments. And like I said, I think you've done your best to address all the issues that have come up. I don't have an issue with the portico. But I would like to see, like, you know, like we talked about, the roof lines being separated. I just don't know how you do it on the right side with that volume. You know, it seems like it's going to affect the chimney. So, I mean,
Yeah,
I think you have some things to work out.
Yep. So what ends up happening, Adam, is this side, you know, this side addition here, we moved it back in this previous, so it steps back 6 inches from the main house here, the main roof line. So when we set it back 6 inches,
I don't think the plan or the elevations reflect that, though. I mean, you're telling me this, but it's not reflected in the drawings.
Yeah, let me see.
Correct.
Here. So it's stepped back there on the second floor.
Okay, there it is. But on the first floor,
and then it stepped back.
There are lines.
I know it's hard to see here. It is stepped back. You know, the 6 inches.
No, those are not step back right there. I can tell it's not. It's perfectly aligned on the first floor. And if that's what you want to do, great. I don't know how you detail that, you know, between the first and second floor, you'd have some sort of, you know, little roof there between the first and second floor.
Yeah, so there isn't a lower roof.
Yeah, I don't think that's your intention,
Going
but
the wrong way here.
if you wanted to
Yeah,
have
I
the
mean,
second floor set back from the first floor. there would
From the
have to be
first
some
floor,
way
it
to-
drops that roof line, you know, on this side elevation here. By moving that back, it drops this to create a break in the roof. So in other words, instead of this being, you know, I'm trying to do this here with a ruler, or I'm sorry, with a pointer. Instead of this being the top at the top of the point there, really what happens is the roof line comes down to this lower side, which creates that break in the roof from the front elevation.
I understand, but that's not what's drawn.
I apologize. Yes, I understand that.
And I'm not sure how it works. Does the whole volume get shifted out back, or does it get thinner?
No, this whole side gets shifted back 6 inches back this way.
And then you have to deal with the chimney, which is
Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of inches here.
and the window and the gable.
The window and the gable will have. Yep, the window and the gable will have to get just a little bit smaller.
I know what you're intending to do, but I mean, we have to have a record of what you're doing, you know, in the files. You know, if this gets approved, when it gets approved, you know, the drawings in the historic, you know, the property files need to reflect what's being built. You know what I mean?
Totally understand.
So anyway, those are my comments. I'm going to move on. We have, again, a bunch of letters to read. This might take a little while. So, first one's from Mike Dewar to the Historic District Commission. I'm writing to the Commission in strong opposition of 920 Old Post Road, the proposed 30-foot setback in one of Fairfield's most historic and picturesque stretches of road would impair views to the residents of 952 Old Post Road. To diminish views to one of the few buildings not destroyed in the burning of Fairfield is unnecessary and would do harm to the historic appeal of the district. More recent construction on that stretch included 965 Old Post Road, which adhered to the appropriate setback. I strongly urge the HEC to oppose this proposed development and urge the developer to submit a plan that adheres to the well thought out guidelines that have helped maintain the historic appeal of the Old Post Road neighborhood. Mike Dewar, 47 West Morgan Ave. And Cadis, to the Historic District Commission, I remain concerned about the setback of the home and the size of the home compared to the size of the lot. The setback of the front of the home remains too small in comparison to the rest of the homes on this block. In fact, in addition to the small 30-foot setback, they have extended the front entry to less than 24 feet from the sidewalk. Such a setback is against the text and spirit of the Historic District rules, will diminish the beauty and grandeur of the rest of the properties and will look like it is out of scale. Additionally, it will set a wrong precedent for the district. This application does not show a street view. From the August meeting, the builder designer stated more than once that he was not sure if the garage would be visible from the street. Is there a drawing to scale that will show what the proposed building will look like in the streetscape? Sincerely, Cadis. To may concern, this letter is from Karen Olivieri. This is the neighbor. To may concern, a letter is respectfully submitted to articulate a concern regarding plans and specifications prepared for the application of certificate of appropriateness dated stamped by the HDC on August 17th for the 920 Old Post Road, Fairfield, Connecticut. Notwithstanding the fact that we had a conversation with the architect regarding the basketball court, none of the items articulated below have been addressed in the current submission. Improvement locations survey drawing. This drawing indicates a dotted line for the basketball court to be removed. The dotted line extends beyond the property line, encroaching on my property is not acceptable. Please provide the revise the drawing to indicate the following. Identify the portion of basketball court to remain, namely the portion on my property. Identify the means and methods to be utilized to maintain the integrity of the existing basketball court, subsurface, and playing surface that will remain on my property. Provide details, if any, regarding any proposed treatment, example, plantings or fence along the property line. In addition to the foregoing, my recollection from the previous HGC meeting regarding this application was that the HGC had requested a streetscape drawing that will show how the new house would fit into the existing streetscape. My current submission does not include this. This is from Johan Andreasen. The Historic District Commission members, Mr. Chairman Cliver, on Historic District area resident at 981 Old Post Road, in writing a strong opposition to the proposed construction of a new home on a small non-conforming lot at 920 Old Post Road. While I recognize some minor improvements to the design has been made, it remains a fact that the proposed development will have a significant negative impact on the property itself, which is currently a vacant lot, but more importantly on surrounding buildings in the immediate neighborhood. Because of the proposed massing, size, scale, style, setback, etc., which are incongruous with the appearance of the immediate neighborhood, is further detailed below. On that basis, and in accordance with the standards and guidelines established in the Historic District Commission handbook, the application for the certificate of permission should be denied. According to the handbook, the Historic District Commission shall be guided by the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for the rehabilitation of historic buildings. And according to said standard, a certificate of appropriateness shall not be issued if the proposed work is inappropriate to the building or the site, comprises the historical or architectural integrity, compromises the historical or architectural integrity of the building, or is incongruous with the appearance of the immediate neighborhood or the general neighborhood. The standard for what constitutes inappropriate in this case is detailed under the new construction section of the handbook, which provides ample guidelines and examples. Among other things, it states that the case of new buildings or structures proposed for areas where no buildings or structures or only ancillary ones have stood since the creation of the historic district, care should be taken to design new buildings and structures that intrude as little as possible on the historic character of the district. It further states that any new construction shall be sensitive to the historic character of the site and shall be designed to retain as much as possible of the visual historic streetscape, and so that the views from the public ways of existing buildings and structures are undiminished. Specifically, a new construction will often need to be of a lower height and with less massing and bulk than existing buildings and structures, so that the view of these existing structures from public ways is protected. It also makes reference to street setbacks and lot placement, which should be designed to protect the historic views of existing buildings and structures. And if a lot is created or a garden has historically existed, then a building with elements of a garden cottage retaining as much as possible of the historic grounds would be more appropriate than a formal house with a large footprint. I think it's clear that the proposed 2,600 square foot formal house to be developed on what is a very small 0.21 acre parcel in close proximity to existing historic buildings is an affront to the guidelines established in the handbook and quoted above. In fact, I would argue that the handbook was developed, the historic district formed, and the Historic District Commission appointed to protect against this type of development. There is currently no building on the lot except a garden shed. It's a garden that used to belong to the owners of 80 Old Post Road. The handbook referred to the garden cottage as something that would be appropriate for this lot. However, what is being proposed is a formal house, which the handbook specifically notes as less appropriate. Worse, it's a large formal house, maxed out on all sides, to fit within the minimum setbacks on a small lot. It's something you would expect to find in the beach area, and it has no place in the historic district. While the handbook is clear on this issue, if in doubt, the commission should consider what precedents allowing the proposed building would set. It would be potentially devastating to the commission, historic district, as it would open the door for most of the larger homes that sit on the proposed sit on this application with interest. The proposed house is situated in immediate proximity to the Roland Homestead, 952 Old Post Road, and appears to be as tall or taller larger and much wider, while the handbook requires the new construction to be of lower height and with less massing and bulk. Proposed massing, bulk, and width facing Old Post Road will diminish the neighboring properties and will create what the handbook refers to as sore thumb in the district, which it states should be avoided. I'm not sure what style of proposed house represents, but there are several undesirable features in addition to the sizing and masking, including the 2 small square windows. Bathroom windows should not be allowed in the front of the house facing the street. These are inconsistent with the historic character of the district. The proposed plain painted shutters are not consistent with the louvered shutters on the neighboring properties. Louvered shutters should be required. The absence of a central chimney is inconsistent with the other historic properties in the immediate neighborhood, and a significant historic detail that should be required. Copper gutters will be preferable to white aluminum gutters, which gives a very modern feel. Depending on the setback to the street, whether to allow a fence should be considered carefully. The standard setback in the general neighborhood is 45 feet. That creates a sizable front yard that enhances the appreciation of the neighboring and existing properties. A smaller front yard with a fence could amplify the cramped feeling this property would have, and no fence may be more appropriate, consistent with the Roland homestead, and it is closer to the street and does not have a fence. Given the large size and width of the house, it should be set back further from the street so as not to infringe on the view or diminish the immediate neighborhood and streetscape in accordance with the setback guideline detailed in the handbook. Prior to any approval for this site, staking the property with posts to get a sense of the mass, bulk, height of the proposed house should be required to get more accurate appreciation for the negative impact it would have on the neighborhood and impact a view from public way. Overall, a smaller, simpler, less intrusive house like a garden cottage and a design that is sensitive to the surrounding neighborhood and abutting properties in accordance with the requirements of the handbook would seem more appropriate for this property. As a proposed house is totally inappropriate and should be denied, obviously from a preservation perspective, the best would be for nothing to be built on this site. As such, I call on the commission to deny the application for certificate of appropriateness in order to protect and preserve the historic district against this excessive development contemplated at 920 Old Post Road. In addition to my written testimony, I would also welcome the opportunity to speak at the upcoming hearing on September 8th. Best regards, Johann Andreas. Dear Mr. Kleiber, it's with this point that I am writing this 4th letter to you in opposition of the proposal for the subdivided lot at 920 Old Post Road and the bid to push development to the limits of zoning regulations. This incomplete application shows deference to the context of the site itself, whereas it is more than possible to build a modest home on the lot in question while complying with both town and HGC requirements. The applicants are choosing not to follow this path. Instead, exceptions are sought to the point of absurdity, which would lead to the creation of a diagonal streetscape in the heart of the historic district. Previously, you received the attached letter signed by 12 neighbors, as well as another from the Old Post Road Area Association, both raising concerns about the incongruousness of this proposal with the streetscape of Old Post Road and its requirement to change the established precedent on setbacks. This resubmission represents a third missed opportunity to address those concerns which go by the very core of the Historic District Commission's remit. As such, I would urge you to deny this proposal until which point it conforms with HCC guidelines. Setback does not conform with HCC guidelines. The proposed construction is directly adjacent to the Roland Homestead 952 Old Post Road, one of the 6 properties that survived the burning of Fairfield in 1779, and the only one not located on Beach Road. The envisaged new construction would eliminate the vista of the original main entrance of that historic property. The proposed 30-foot setback for the new construction is not conforming to customary setbacks along the short end of Old Post Road of 46 to 65 feet. The 2 exceptions to this rule are both grandfathered in pre-Revolutionary War edifices, the original side facades of which front what is now Old Post Road. The original main entrances face the beach. The Roland Homestead 952 Old Post Road, construction 1759. HCC guidelines state the new construction shall be designed so that the views from public ways of existing buildings and structures is undiminished to the extent possible. For example, a new construction will often need to be lower in height with less massing and bulk than existing buildings and structures so that the view of these existing structures from public ways is protected. Similarly, streetscape setbacks and lot placement should not necessarily mirror existing buildings and structures, but should be designed to protect the historic views of such existing buildings and structures. Finally, to the extent possible, design of the new buildings and structures should complement the historic character of the property in question. For example, if a building lot is created where a garden has historically existed, then a building with elements of garden retaining as much possible historic grounds will be more appropriate than a formal house with a large footprint. You're being asked to change precedent that has already been established and applies across the historic district. Exemptions to the HCC streetscape guidelines have not been granted in similar cases. Example, 965 Old Post Road, to ensure equity and unintended future consequences at a neighborhood level, I would urge you to deny this application. I would gratefully appreciate the opportunity to speak at the HCC meeting on September 8th on this topic. Sincerely, yours sincerely, Richard Cunningham. Dear Mr. Claver, we are writing you in opposition to proposed construction of a new home and double garage on a subdivided lot at 920 Old Post Road, Fairfield, in a bid to push development to the limits of zoning regulations. This application shows deference to the context of the site itself. We are disappointed to learn that after denial of their prior submission, the applicant did not seize the opportunity to reconfigure their design to accommodate the most material concern raised by neighboring households, namely the front setback. Setback does not conform with HCC guidelines. The proposed construction is directly adjacent to Roland Homestead, 952 Old Post Road, one of the 6 properties that survived the burning of Fairfield in 1779. Is this the same letter? Hang on. I think it's the same letter I've already read, but I'll finish it anyway. Exception to this rule, grandfather pre-Revolutionary War edifices, the original side facades of which front is what is now Old Post Road. The original main entrances face the beach. Roll Homestead 952 Old Post Road, construction 1759. The Thorpe House 1005 Old Post Road, originally constructed 1756, rebuilt after the burning of Fairfield. HEC guidelines state new construction shall be designed so that the views from public ways of existing buildings and structures is undiminished to the extent possible. For example, new construction will often need to be of lower height with less massing and bulk than existing buildings and structures so that the view of these existing structures from public ways is protected. Similarly, street setbacks and lot placement should not necessarily mirror existing buildings and structures, but should be designed to protect the historic views of such existing buildings and structures. Finally, to the extent possible, design of new buildings and structures should complement the historic character of the property in question. For example, if a building lot is created or a garden has historically existed, then a building with elements of garden cottage remain as much as possible. The historic grounds will be more appropriate than formal house with large footprint. Exemptions to HCC's streetscapes guidelines have not been granted in other similar cases. Example, 965 Old Post Road, to ensure equity to avoid precedent setting the unintended future consequences, would urge you to deny this application. Yours sincerely. It's signed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people. To whom it is from Jennifer Dewher. To whom it may concern, we stand with Richard and Regina Cunningham in opposition to the proposed subdevelopment at 920 Old Post Road. Thank you kindly for making a formal note of this. Sincerely, Michael and Jennifer Dewher, 47 West Morgan Ave. Finally, from the Old Post Road Association, dear commissioners, we the board members of the Old Post Road Area Association write to you with the collective concerns from our neighborhood regarding the current application, 920 Old Post Road. That is before you. I refer to the letters from the Old Post Road Association sent to you on January 11th, 2022 and June 8th, 2022. As stated, In the Town of Fairfield Historic Districts and Properties Handbook, the application must have complete set of drawings to scale and a description of materials to be used. The sets must be complete, showing both existing and proposed conditions. The floor plans are inconsistent with the plot plan, the front elevation, and the side elevation drawings. The front facade has features that are not consistent with the design and architecture of the house. There's an alcove for one window on the front elevation that breaks up the lines of the house. The roof line on the front elevation does not seem to match what is shown on the floor plans or the south elevation drawing. The application shows a side cut of a gutter and specifies that they will be made of copper, but the drawings are inconsistent in where the downspouts will be located. Many neighbors are concerned about the 30-foot setback of the proposed house and that this will negatively affect the streetscape. As stated in the FHDC handbook, new building constructed on a subdivided lot or on a lot that has not had buildings or structures since the creation of the historic district shall be designed to retain as much as possible of the visual historic streetscape. Established rhythms and local location, massing, height, and bulk of buildings and structures along the street should be maintained. I refer you to the letter sent to the Commission on January 3rd, 2022 from Mr. Richard Cunningham of 952 Old Post Road. This letter eloquently states why the 30-foot setback in the 920 Old Post Road application is not appropriate. HEC guidelines state new construction shall be designed so that the views from public ways of existing buildings and structures is undiminished. The setback appears incongruous with the streetscape and other homes with the exception of 952 Old Post Road. If the home at 92 Old Post Road is built with the front setback of 30 feet, it will compete with the historically significant Andrew Rowland home at 952 Old Post Road. The Andrew Rowland home, which is on the National Register of Historic Places, dates back to 1768, and by its age, one would expect it to be closer to the street. The proposed dwelling at 920 Old Post Road would better align with the neighborhood streetscape if the front setback was increased to at least 45 feet. This would be in keeping with other properties within the surrounding streetscape. It would be important and useful if the Commission requested artist renders of the streetscape with the proposed house and its requested setback of 30 feet to better illustrate its impact on the section of the historic Old Post Road. We encourage you to deny this application without prejudice and allow the landowner to return yet again to you with an appropriate application that addresses the above concerns. Thank you for your voluntary time and consideration. Sincerely, Dr. Henry Backey, President. Ms. 3088 Old Post Road, Karen Wingate, Vice President, 458 Old Post Road, Stacy Fama, Secretary, 455 Old Post Road, and Walter Shaw, Treasurer, 487 Old Post Road. So Brian, do you have any comments? You're muted.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm sorry. I think Chris Russo is gonna jump in here real quick, but in response, I mean, they're the same letters that we've heard, obviously, for the last three meetings. So I think we've addressed most of those concerns and issues. But go ahead, Chris.
Chair, members of the commission, Chris Russo again for the applicant, Russo and Rizzio LLC, offices at 10 Sasko Hill Road in Fairfield. These are a lot of the same comments, but as it's a new application, for the record, I do want to respond, even though the responses are ones you have already heard before. Regarding the lot and its validity as a building lot, which I think I mentioned in one of the letters, again, that's a zoning issue. This application has been on in various different forms for 9 months. And in that time, anybody who questioned that could have called the zoning office and said that this is an illegal building lot. I talk to zoning almost every other day. Nobody has ever done that. So I think that issue is moot. It's a valid building lot, and my clients are entitled to a dwelling on this lot. It is a fully conforming lot. It has the appropriate size, the appropriate lot square, and the appropriate lot frontage. Regarding the size of the home, it is fully compliant. It's actually under the regulations And I know, as this has been through multiple iterations, that the size of this house has just decreased significantly from what is originally proposed. There are certainly other homes in this neighborhood that are of greater size than that, than this home that's being presented. With regards to the setback, again, the setback of this home is fully compliant with the zoning regulations. But above that, in the historic handbook, it specifically says that the established rhythms in location, massing, height, and bulk of buildings and structures along the street may not be appropriate for replication in the case of new construction on land without any relevant history of buildings or structures. So this is land that does not have any relevant history of buildings or structures, and therefore it is not appropriate for an established rhythm of location in the neighborhood. To push this house back to 40 feet would essentially render it unbuildable. I mean, it would severely limit the building area of this property. The entire right side of the property, you call it right half of the property, would not be able to have a building. We still have a need for a driveway and to provide parking to be compliant with the regulations. It essentially would negate this being a building lot, which I know is something that the neighbors are probably trying to achieve. But it's not, what they are requesting is not what is required under the zoning regulations. And it's also specifically not what is not required under your handbook. I'll also note that the question regarding blocking the views of the neighboring property, I know that Brian pointed out that where our building actually starts in comparison to that. But the other thing I'll note is that our proposed building is 12.4 feet away from our the northern property line at its closest location. But then the house that's next to us is 25 feet, maybe just a tad under 25 feet. Brian and I were out there and we measured it. It's 25 feet from that property line. So that's a total of 37 feet at its closest between these two buildings. And that in no way will block the viewscape of this house, which in reality can't even be seen because of the existing landscaping that's there. At least that side of the house cannot be seen. And I also know if you, it gets even far, I think it gets even farther away as you get closer to the road because of the angle of the property line. If you look at the site plan, the house actually gets farther away from the property line. So we believe in no way will we impact the view of that home. We think the whole house, side of the house, will be visible from the public street, and in practicality more so than it is now because you can't see it because there's the landscaping that's in front of this property. There was also the comment, and again, I think this is a comment regarding the design of the home, mentioning the portion of the handbook where it talks about if it was a garden, it should be a garden cottage. Again, this is a vacant lot. It's got a basketball court on it. That's its feature. So there's no garden there. There's nothing. It's just grass and some random plantings. But so we feel we're in conformity with the regulations and the handbook. And my client is living in a 1-bedroom condo, and he has kids, and has been patiently working to try to satisfy all the concerns to build a home to live in and on a valid building lot that he paid for. And it's frankly kind of sad to see all these steps that the neighbors are taking to just try to find a way to prevent him from building a home here. and the setback issue, again, which would severely impact this site, basically make it unbuildable, would essentially achieve that. So I'll turn it over to Brian if you have any more comments regarding the response to the specific design issues. I will say, Chairman, noting some of the discrepancies of the plans that don't, some of them need to be amended and revised. If the commission felt that they would accept that as a condition of approval to revise those plans, we would certainly accept that and provide those so that they all match. But if the commission felt that they need to see those, we would be willing to request a continuance to be able to amend those plans and have everything read correctly. But on the whole, we've done, and we appreciate the patience of the commission and the time of the commission to work with us on this project and to improve the project. We feel that we have done everything we can to address the concerns of the commission, and would like to finally move forward on this proposal, so my client can move forward in building his home. Brian, I don't know if there was anything in addition that you wanted to add to that.
No, there was just one discrepancy in one of the letters. I did mention, or I did hear that the home was 2,600 square feet. The home is actually a little over 2,200 square feet. So it's just a matter of note that the home is roughly 2,237 square feet, I think is what I calculated this morning.
Thank you, Chris and Brian. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak in favor of this application? Okay. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak against this application?
Hi, yes, I would like to. Richard Cunningham, I'm the kind of direct neighbour. Just before I kind of have a few comments, and I'll be pretty quick. I'd just like to raise, I think on Brian's comments earlier, there seem to be some mathematical kind of issues, particularly kind of around the driveway. The streetscape kind of reflects a hedge, which I think would not be there. And this setback with the driveway, then the concerns were raised around ice shoveling, etc. I don't think they're factoring in the current fence and the setback of that fence from the lot line, as well as the placement of HVAC units. As to the attorney, I believe his name was Chris's comments, I'd like those struck from the record, particularly as he's just alleged having trespassed on a property. And I think that's something he and I are going to have to speak about kind of separately. But commissioners, I'd like to, I think we're kind of stuck in Groundhog Day with this, with this application. Whereas there's a quorum of opposition from surrounding neighbours. You saw 12 had signed a letter, a number have signed, independent letters. The Old Post Road Area Association has kind of also sent a letter. We've now had 3 resubmissions which have not addressed the substantive concerns raised by the neighbours. Instead, the architectural kind of drawings and renderings have kind of focused on pretty minor kind of cosmetic updates and not really on those material concerns. The concerns are to the streetscape, and they're also to the changing of a precedent on front setbacks, which applies across the historic area district. And I think there are genuine and real concerns around kind of what this would mean if a 30-foot setback was allowed in terms of just future development in the Old Post Road area. I'd like to speak quickly just to kind of one point, because I was asked to kind of explain what I meant by my term kind of diagonal streetscape in my letter, and this is something I don't know if you can try to kind of visualize, but on the short end of Old Post Road, front setbacks are typically 46 to 65 feet because of expansive front lawns. In this case, actually, there's planned construction kind of on one of those front lawns. The corner lot at the moment is set back 46 feet. Technically, it's actually its side setback. Then the Roland Homestead is set back 16 feet from the streets for historical reasons. It's a pre-Revolutionary War edifice grandfathered in, and that's actually again its original side setback because its front facade faces the beach and faces the lot in question. So the lot that's envisaged for construction will actually be directly in front of the original front portico of that property. And that property is part of the living history of Fairfield, and its placement is also part of the living history of Fairfield. If someone wants to know how a governor's daughter lived in colonial times, they can refer to this property. It was constructed for Elizabeth Fitch while her father was presiding British governor, and it has remained in place for 260 odd years. Similarly, if someone wants to understand about the burning of Fairfield, the attic from which supposedly the British landing was sighted and the alarm was raised is also there for all to see. Well, until now, until a decision to try to place a property directly in front of the original front facade of the Roland Homestead. And it would be a stone's throw away. I believe in when the architect kind of spoke, he originally said a 17 feet driveway that then got reduced to kind of 11 feet. And now I think we need to factor into the fence into that and air conditioning units. And again, the setback on the Roland property, we don't know. Certainly nobody has had my authorization to enter my property to measure that. The application is requesting a 30-foot setback, which is 25 feet less than the precedent that was previously established for the property that's diagonally opposite this lot in question at 965 Old Post Road. And when it came to, the Commissioner Gould, ensured that it had a 55-foot setback, which matches the average for the other side of Old Post Road. Now, for the numerous in you, I'd like to just read back three numbers to try to make sure this message kind of gets through. 46 feet is the setback for the corner lot, the first one in the corner of Old Post Road and Old Post Road. You then have this application for a 30-foot setback, and then you have a side setback for the regional side setback from the Roland Homestead of 16 feet. So you have 46 feet, 30 feet, 16 feet. So not only would this application obscure the original front portico and eclipse the Roland Homestead, it would also create a streetscape absurdity by placing three consecutive properties in different positions in a diagonal kind of fashion, which just from my, I'm a layman in this, but for me, that's not something you would ever really do or try to do in urban planning, either in historic times or now. And this impact is wholly unnecessary. I believe, it really comes, it is possible. I've looked at the plans to construct a family home on that site while complying both with historic guidelines and the zoning requirements. That might be an inconvenient truth, but that is the truth. The applicants, however, are choosing not to do so. We haven't seen those plans, and instead we're seeing requests for exceptions and exceptions that would be to the detriment of the community as a whole. I think there should be candid discussions around variances and to try to figure out how we can push this property back off the street, whether it's through land swaps or kind of variances. But certainly the neighbours have been prepared to kind of discuss this with the applicants, but they really haven't been engaged. So as I mentioned, the exceptions haven't been granted in other cases. This is a particularly historic site. In what I think my first letter explained the unique importance of this as a garden to the establishment of the U.S. Navy. The certificate of appropriateness should be denied, until which point it does actually conform both with the HDC guidelines in terms of substance and also in terms of completeness, I think, of the dossier itself, which has been raised on a number of occasions. And with that, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to respond to that, Chris?
Chairman, yes, Chris Russo in response. For clarity, the measurement was taken from the public sidewalk. And if I could share the screen. This is the town's GIS system. This is 920 Old Post Road. Take a measurement using the town system. 24 feet from the building corner here to the property line. So approximately 25 feet from the property in 952 to 920 Old Post Road. In addition to the setback that we have, I'm going to pull this over. In addition to the setback that we have, which is at its smallest 12.4 feet. So 37.4 feet. No, I've been my response.
Yeah.
I've listened to your response.
Sorry.
So there's a considerable distance there between them. The comment, just responding to the comment regarding variances, there are no right to variances. To rely on getting a variance is just there. I go to ZBA every month almost, and there's no guarantee that you would get a variance on any of this. The other comment that I had forgotten to respond to the first time was regarding the basketball court in this notation regarding the basketball court. This is an application for work just on 920 Old Post Road. Any approval would not authorize work on that property. We would only be able to remove the basketball court that's on our property. And that's it. Brian, I don't know if you want to add anything in addition.
Nope, that was it. I let you handle that one. And yeah, in terms of the basketball court, that was addressed in the previous previous meeting, where we're going to saw cut along the property line and so on and so forth, and everything on the neighbor's property will remain intact.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who'd like to speak against this application?
Yeah, you have Johan Andreasen here, 981 Old Post Road.
Okay.
I appreciate some of the design changes that were made, but I remain very much opposed with the rest of the neighborhood on this point. And I'm a little bit concerned with these comments by Mr. Russo that there is some sort of right to build on this lot as there is on the rest of the town, because that's simply not true. The zoning laws and regulation, okay, we get it. It's in compliance. It's not non-conforming lot legally, whatever. Okay, this is the historic district. Okay, I can't change the siding on my house on 981 Old Post Road without coming to this commission for approval. Okay, I did come to this commission for approval to change my siding because I have two different types of siding on my house, and I wanted to conform it so it all looked the same. And that application was denied, and I had to live with it. And there is like good and bad things with that, right? All the neighbors that are opposed, they're opposed because they bought into this historic district because they are protected by the Historic District Commission and the Historic District laws and regulations. The protection is that, you can't just build anything, okay? You can't just follow zoning. That means nothing, okay? It needs to also be appropriate. And so we can't just change siding. We can't just build extensions, even though it's within the zone. If that is what the applicant wants to do, I would suggest sell the lot and go build your house somewhere else. I have no sympathy that he lives in a one-bedroom condo. That's his choice. It has nothing to do with us, okay? We have bought houses that are 200-300 years old, okay? And there is state law that founded this whole historic district and the designation to protect these areas. And I have take issues with, and I'm very concerned about, having a lawyer sit here and try to lecture us and talk about setbacks and normal setbacks. It's just completely irrelevant. And I would say, if you were to, approve this application, it would void the protection that we have, and I think it would create a lot of issues. And I think that all the residents in this area who are strongly opposed to this You know, I mean, what does that mean for us and for our future, you know, in the historic district? Very, very concerned about that as it comes to this application. I find it really frustrating to Mr. Cunningham's point that, you know, this is the third or fourth hearing. It takes a huge amount of our time to have to fight this and all the neighbors. And these guys are coming back with incomplete application. You know, it's just not serious. And I'm really concerned about that as well. I appreciate the things that were made, but you know, that there's elevations and things that doesn't match up. That the streetscape still, you know, have the hedge. I mean, it's just not. It is. You do not have, you know, what you need to approve. There's a new building in this historic district. It's a big, huge deal. Okay, it does not happen every day. The house it's too big. You know, can something be built in? I have no idea, but it's irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. Okay, the house needs to be small. The handle needs to be smaller than the surrounding house. Less bulk, less massing. It should be more set. It should be set back more than everything else because it's a new build. If you can't build anything, you can't build anything. There is nothing to do about it. It's not the issue of this application. So then, you know, they're still missing like, you know, basic, you know, historical characters. There's no central chimney, for example. I had that in my last letter or this letter. You know, building it, you know, adding an addition to as part of a new build. It's too much. Please deny this. It needs to come back with a smaller house, more setback. If that doesn't work, it doesn't work. Sell the lot. Go buy a house somewhere else. That's all I had. I really appreciate the work that has gone on so far. Again, it does look better, but you know, it's not good enough for the historic district. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak against this application? Okay, any more comments? Brian, Chris?
Chair, I think I'll let that one just lie, but I will say I think if the commission would entertain a motion to continue, to be able to submit plans that show, even though, you know, I think we've demonstrated what we intend to build, just so that they all match up, and have those submitted into the record. We would respectfully request a continuance to be able to do that. If there were any other comments that the commission felt we should take a look at beyond those, we'd appreciate that feedback now, so we can come back next month, unless the commission saw fit to just have them as requirements as condition of approval, submit revised plans.
Well, I think if we do a continuance, which I'm not sure we will, but we'll talk about it. You know, I would think that obviously the drawings would need to be coordinated so that everything reflects the plans and the elevations are on the same page. But in addition to that, a more in-depth streetscape from different angles. I mean, if you have the drawing already, it looks like the model is maybe not exactly what you have now, but maybe you update the model. And I think one of the biggest views is going to be the front of you know, your neighbor's house, the one that's in question, and how obscured that actually is. But we'll see. The commission will discuss it in their executive session.
Adam, can I ask one question? Sorry, it's Brian.
Yes, of course.
One question. the streetscape that you're speaking of, obviously, are you asking me to stand at the end of the road in the middle of the road and look down Old Post Road and take the picture? Are you looking for me to stand on the property itself and look,
Brian,
head on,
Brian?
one dimension with the building next to us?
Brian, you've heard, all the opposition, and you know what to address. So I can only tell you that, and I think a streetscape of some sort will help answer some of these questions for people. And what those questions are and concerns. So if you can somehow alleviate those, make those, address those issues through a streetscape, which I think is the best way to do it. What's better than an image of the street, with the proposed house on it and the adjacent houses in there.
Okay.
I know it's a lot of work, but that's where we are. Okay. All right. So if there's nothing else, this meeting's or this application is closed. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Moving on to consideration of our public hearing. So we're going to executive session. First item on the agenda. Town of Fairfield, 725 Old Post Road in Fairfield, property located 725 Old Post Road for a 10 dual electric vehicle charging stations and B5 Pennsylvania Globe Company gas lights. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
Second?
I'll second.
Jim Stern makes a motion, Jim seconds. Discussion? We don't want to stipulate any sort of plantings on that power unit, the whatever it's called. Okay, no concern.
I mean,
Okay,
I think
let's
we did talk about that, and I think typically we do that, Adam, so that would probably be appropriate.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, I think that transformer is going to be kind of large and or whatever. It's not actually a transformer. Whatever that thing is.
It's a 400.
There's a transformer.
It's a 400 amp panel, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they
That's
called it
3 feet off the ground.
called it a.
Right.
They say it's a proposed transformer.
Yeah.
He changes. He
I think he
corrected what it was.
corrected that. Yeah.
So it's the electric panel.
Yeah, I would make it. Yeah, I'd make an amendment to your position here that we include planting.
Darren?
Okay.
To screen evergreen plantings to screen that one unit in perpetuity.
Yeah, screen the plant.
Okay. Do I just have to make the motion again, Adam?
Yeah, just say you want to amend your motion.
Okay, I'd like to amend the motion to approve as presented with the stipulation that plantings are maintained in perpetuity in front of the electric panel.
Second?
Jim?
And I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
So okay. I mean, the only other discussion, and I should have brought this up and I apologize.
That's all right.
Adam, to your point about the concrete bases sticking out of the ground, in some cases, almost, 1.7 feet, so that's like 20 inches. I don't know if everyone's okay with that, but that's part of the application. So they'll be visible.
I know, in the worst case scenario.
I mean, I don't think there's much that can be done about that. If they want the charging stations to all be the same elevation, I mean, I don't really know why they shouldn't just follow the grade and why they all need to, or why they all need to be the same elevation.
Yeah,
I mean, I
I
don't think
think
the
the ones,
lampposts, I don't think the lampposts are all, you know, the same elevation. They're probably following the grade.
right.
Mm.
And I bet you the grade on that island, you know, in between the parking, it's probably pretty consistent. It's just off, it's the other two off to the side, which aren't even next, you know, which are separate than the other 8.
I mean, according to the information, the grade on the island, the ground elevation it varies by about 7/10 of a foot from high to low.
Well, that's
7 inches.
Yeah.
8 inches. Anyway, so that was my other discussion, but since we're already started voting, I'll go ahead and
I'm not
vote.
sure, yeah, I'm not sure about that. Okay, so all
So
opposed, I think we all voted first time.
okay.
All opposed, unopposed, so the motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is Old South Road LLC, 171 Old South Road, and Southport for property located at 171 Old South Road for A, changes to existing fence. Can I get a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve it as proposed.
I'll second the motion.
George makes a motion, unless Darren seconds. Discussion?
Yeah, I would just like to say that this is another example of doing the work and then asking us to grant permission after the fact. And this seems to be happening quite a bit, and it's unfortunate.
Well, to bring that home, this is the same, this applicant's last
Yeah.
submission was exactly the same situation of approving work that had already been done. Yeah,
Yeah, but we had to issue a violation to get him to,
I mean, it's just,
not much we can do about it, you know, just have to, it's not okay, but
I just wanted to say that for the record.
yeah, I agree with you,
yeah,
Chris.
I don't think, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot we can do about it, but except issue a violation if we find it. All right, let's take a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Unopposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item is Kyle and Alana Griswold, 298 Harbor Road in Southport for property located at 298 Harbor Road in Southport for A, new door units at existing side porch, replace side lights. B, new lantern sconces at side porch. C, new lanterns, front door, remove overhead fixture. D, new transom over windows, kitchen and wood louver gable. E, replace existing garage doors and passage doors. F, new lanterns, sconces, and garage, remove existing soffits lights. And G, new front door to match existing. Can I get a motion? Hmm.
For discussion purposes, I guess I'd make a motion to approve as submitted. At least start
Okay,
the outcome.
second?
I'll second that for discussion.
Start the conversation.
Okay, Darren seconds. Discussion. Let's start the discussion.
Looking at my list.
I feel like that window with the transom gable end is a bit out of scale for the house.
Anyone else feel that way?
I'm trying to pull up the plan so I can relook at it.
It's on elevation A2.
Okay. Subcategory. A2, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is Harbor Road, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
298 Harbor Road.
A4, A3.
It's on a, an older, it's on an addition. It's not on the main house.
I'm sorry, Chris, what are you looking at? The door?
So I was looking at
The transom.
A2, and I was looking
The
at the triple window that's got a triple transom above it.
Yeah. The window's trying to get more light in.
And then,
Yeah.
and then if you go to exhibit P2, you can see two photographs of the existing triple window. And I'm just trying to, picture that triple window with the kind of the triple transom above it. Just, it seems a little bit out of scale to me.
Hmm. I see what you mean. I don't know that it bothers me that much, to be honest with you.
Doesn't bother me. I don't have a problem with it.
Well,
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that was my only comment.
Any other issues?
Let's have a vote.
Okay. We'll take a vote then. All in favor? All opposed? Unopposed? Motion passes. Next item is Eric and Heather Malin, 1386 Hillside Road in Fairfield, for property located at 1386 Hillside Road in Fairfield for a new one-story wood frame, 150 square foot box bay addition to existing home.
I'll make a motion
Can I
to
get,
approve as submitted.
And I'll second
Aaron
that.
makes a motion.
I'll
George
second it.
seconds. Discussion?
I think they did a really sensitive job.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
That was a
Very
good
nice
presentation.
detailing, and it just goes to the
Good.
house.
Good, very
Yeah.
good presentation.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Unopposed? No abstentions. Motion passes unanimously. Next item is David and Tina Montani, 920 Old Post Road in Fairfield, for property located at 920 Old Post Road in Fairfield for A, construct new single-family house and detached garage. B, install new asphalt driveway. C, install new fence along front property. D, install new brick stoop and walkways. And E, install new AC condensing units. I mean, based on what we were discussing in the meeting, a continuance might be in order. And have them come back with revised drawings that are more complete and reflect, accurately what they intend to build. And some, my suggestion of additional streetscape drawings. I'm hesitant to, I don't know I mean, we can make a motion and then have some more discussion. Maybe that makes more sense.
I mean, I think I'm not an attorney, and I'm trying to wear a hat, but I was always under the impression that we needed to act on a application, either to deny it without prejudice, or to deny it, or to approve it with conditions. So I don't think we can just continue it.
We can continue.
I
We can
I
continue an
believe we
application.
can continue. Other HDCs do
Oh,
it.
for
We
sure.
have heard
Well,
the application they have presented.
we've never continued an application since I've been a member of this
Fair.
commission.
Yeah, no, we
Yeah.
have. We did recently, actually.
I don't remember
in June
that.
or. Yeah, we did.
I think I agree with Adam that a continuance is a good idea so that we can see those revised drawings and make
I
sure
mean,
that everything is.
Wouldn't there need to be a new application submitted? So why would we continue it? Why wouldn't we just deny it without prejudice? Ask them to submit a new application with and consider all the comments and all the corrections. We talked about wanting to see an elevation, a front elevation that includes the garage. To be nice to see. You can see that from the street. Even though it's partially blocked by the new dwelling, it would be visible. So I don't know what the difference between a continuance and a denied without prejudice is. What's
Well,
the
it's a lot more work.
difference? Pardon?
The difference is they don't have to submit a whole new application, drawings.
Well, shouldn't they?
Well, I mean, they're gonna have to submit some drawings, like the basic floor
Well, I mean,
plans and elevations.
The site plan is inconsistent with the floor plan, so that should be changed.
So,
The floor plans
Right.
are incorrect. Then we need new elevations those ones that were presented were incorrect. So, I mean, I think they have to resubmit anyways. And this application didn't include the streetscape. And in fact, the streetscape that he had is not up to date.
Yeah, a point on the streetscape is that
I mean,
the tree out of that streetscape because it blocks the mass, which is what you're looking
Exactly.
at. I think that's inappropriate.
I agree, George. The tree shouldn't be blocking
The tree was disguising the gable end you were looking at in the earlier submission.
yeah.
Adam, do we need to make a motion to have these discussions?
We should.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
probably should.
So then let me just make a
That's what I was
motion
saying.
so that we can open discussion. I motion to approve as submitted.
Okay, and I'll second it just for conversation.
Adam,
Okay.
you've used the word streetscape, and I'm not sure what you mean by that. If by that you mean a view, an oblique view, a computer-generated complete oblique view of that street from an angle, so you can see what it would look like from someone standing in the middle of the Old Post Road. Is that what you mean by a streetscape?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Rendering.
right. Okay, so views showing,
The proposed
oblique
structure
views
in context of the
Oblique.
existing buildings.
of the property
Yeah.
show the proposed design in the context of its surroundings.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be helpful, and that might address a lot of what the,
I mean, I think
Yeah.
Chris does have a point about submitting a new application. I mean, it might be a little easier to do a continuance, but at the end of the day, they do have a lot of information that needs to be cleaned up in the application.
I think it means the
and-
same thing,
What difference?
right?
I think they should do we should treat it like we treated everything else consistently, which is deny without prejudice and list the things we'd
Yeah.
like to see corrected.
I think that's probably the way we should proceed.
And describe the streetscape that we need with
And what-
greater specificity.
I mean, it might be good to see
So-
a view looking north up the Old Post Road as well, which
Yeah.
I think has been requested by a couple of the neighbors.
Yep.
I think I requested streetscapes for last meeting, but I honestly can't remember at this point.
They were
But he-
requested, Darren, definitely.
He
Let
probably
me ask,
does.
let me ask, since we're having since we're discussing this application, the whole argument about the streetscape not complying with HDC guidelines. I mean, does anybody buy into that?
So from a local historic district perspective, you're supposed to be looking at any changes from a public way, street, or place and how it impacts the defining feature and defining characteristics of that particular local historic district. In this case, that is one of the defining characteristics of the Old Post Road in this part of the district. Is that setback, view shed, all of that.
Yeah, but not all the houses are either on the street or set back 40 feet. You know what I mean? It's like the argument is that, I mean, they even made, the argument is that there are no houses with a 30-foot setback, but there are.
Are there? I
So-
haven't looked at it today.
I know
but
a
that-
lot of them have much, 40-foot setbacks, but there are also homes with 30-foot setbacks.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, I think that was mentioned in some of the letters.
I think I'd have to look at the local district nomination in itself to see if it actually specifies. But I mean, one of the features is a pretty decent sized setback from the road. I didn't look at what every single setback is on that street, so I can't speak to that.
Right. But that could be a defining factor of that street, defining feature.
Yes, it is in other
Of
local
the
districts,
Rogers.
not necessarily in Fairfield, but I have seen that be a defining characteristic in other districts.
And the one that's the Roland House, which is right on the road, it can be that way because it's the oldest house in the street, so therefore it's grandfathered in and it doesn't
Yeah.
apply to the setback sort of rules that everyone else has.
And it's a
Well,
side
it's
yard.
looking at the development over time. And since that seems to be the house that every other house is deferential to, that becomes the standard in a way.
I mean, by
If
the
that
way, the
makes
front of the house it's not visible anyway. You can't see the old front of the house. It's not like anyone's appreciating that view. I know it's because of
Well, because
vegetation.
of the hedge.
Yeah, well, it's like overgrown like crazy over there. It's like a forest, but I would argue that, you probably see more of that facade once they take down all the vegetation. But
Yeah,
anyway,
you're right.
okay. So let's vote on that first motion. All in favor? All opposed? Abstentions? The motion does not pass unanimously. Can I get another motion?
Is it a motion to deny without prejudice with the following conditions, which are the streetscape plans without the trees, the of the corrections with the floor plans and elevations.
Well, George, you're assuming they're going to reapply. I think you just have to act on this application and not.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't think we can specify a future application that has yet to.
Okay.
We don't even know. I mean, we know it's coming, but you know what I mean.
Okay. Then deny
So
without
deny-
prejudice.
Okay, deny without prejudice. Thank you.
Yep.
Second. Anyone?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
Can you read the motion again?
We're
Deny
To
without
deny
prejudice.
the application without prejudice.
Period.
Period.
Okay. You ready to vote on this? Jim?
Are we going to ask that they resubmit with streetscapes?
Jim, we're not worrying about that right now. We're just acting on this
Okay.
application as it
One
is.
step at a
and
time.
I'll have it, if you, when they resubmit, I'll make sure that they provide all the information that we need.
And we're happy to speak to, Brian and Chris
Sure.
about this, after
Yeah.
this hearing.
Yep.
Okay,
Fair enough.
all in favor? All opposed? None opposed? No abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on with the rest of our agenda. We have to approve minutes from July 14th. Chris, Jim, George, and Darren were at that meeting. I was not.
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
I'll second it.
I had a couple of minor changes that I sent you, Adam.
Jim has some minor,
Um,
he's frozen.
You're frozen, Jim.
Just typos. But yeah, sure.
I'm sorry, did you have some changes you need to make?
I sent them to you in my note.
I wasn't at the meeting,
Response.
so I don't.
Okay, see if I can remember them. Typos, they were, oh, brother. Simple typos, if I can find it. See if I can,
Would be the first time minutes were approved with a few typos in them.
Yeah.
they're very simple, they're one-word changes, but I can't remember them. Brother. And the only way I could look is by disconnecting this iPhone and looking at my mail. One was Pella. Oh. I don't want to take up people's time. Minor typos, and I'll agree. That's nothing substantial.
Okay, who made the motion?
I made the
I
motion.
did.
Oh,
Oh,
George made the motion, Darren seconds.
however, right, we're
All in
together.
favor?
Darren, come on.
of approving as submitted, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, two, Chris?
Whatever the videotape says.
As far as the minutes, I'm good.
Okay, minutes are approved.
Okay, good.
Chairman's report, we have repairs at 46 Station Street for fence repair, 560 Pequot Avenue, replace picket fence in kind, 239 Beach Road, replace shingles in kind, 3020 Bronson Road, replace sidewalk and patio in kind, replace fence posts in kind. I have no new violations. Any word on the handbook? Where are we on that?
The handbook is out of my hands now. I think I sent it to you for formatting because I couldn't fix the formatting. And Chris said that he would look over the list of addresses. So that's where we
And
are.
I think
There was a
I
couple
think I
of
got
things.
I got
Sorry,
the
go ahead.
formatting, I think pretty much. I think I got the formatting figured out, right?
Okay.
I believe.
And then there was a couple of questions we needed to ask planning and zoning, I think.
Okay. You
And
know what else we
then
might
the
wanna
maps are an
consider?
issue.
Okay. You know, I mean, what just came up tonight, which the EV charging units might be something that we have to incorporate into there,
Yeah.
make a new section or incorporate under solar panels or something.
Yeah, I
in
mean,
that
the
area.
only thing with that is that there hasn't been an update to the Connecticut general statutes about that stuff. So the closest thing that's in there is about the solar panels. they're pretty much universally granted unless they substantially kind of,
Yeah,
you know,
or completely inappropriate.
yeah,
Okay.
or can damage the historic structure. Sorry, I'm recovering from COVID and my brain is just not all there.
Oh, geez.
Where do we
Okay.
stand on that, that contradiction that was in the handbook of shrubs count and then shrubs don't count in terms of screening?
I think we stood on the side that we do not check for landscaping, but that it is okay to require perpetual screening. I didn't check with
Yeah, in certain
the town
instances.
attorney. I think we left that for.
Okay, couple other things. I received an email from Ancadis. I think it's Ancadis. Let me see if I can bring it up.
I also have a couple of updates too, Adam. I don't know if we need to vote to add that to the agenda.
Okay. Yeah, this is it's an email I received. This 515 Old Post Road. They put this Belgian block pull off, which is a new addition. They were issued a violation. I mentioned that in the previous meeting. I guess they never responded, and I think this is the state of it today. I thought, according to Old Post Road Area Association, I thought I was under the impression that they had taken it out, but from this picture, it doesn't look that way. So I guess we should, as a commission, consider issuing fines because they haven't responded. Also, 14 Willow Street, they came in June, and I think they withdrew the application or something during that meeting.
They got a letter from an attorney and they wanted to address it appropriately.
Yeah,
So
and they haven't appropriately addressed this situation. So again, there's another one. I think if we all agree that fines should be levied on that property as well. I know I sent the attorney a letter, town attorney a letter regarding another property and fines. And I guess during the summer, he's just behind schedule with his work. So, so that is also, so I think we have 3 properties that are being fined at the moment. Well, 1 that's being fined and 2 that potentially. So I don't know, what does everyone think about fines?
just in general or about these particular 3? If they're not
Well, these
responding
two,
to violations, then by all means we have.
These 2 applications, yeah.
Yeah, we have the right to find them, do it.
Consensus from the commission that, this is what we're doing.
I'm on board with
Chris,
that.
you okay with that?
I think I'm agree with you.
Yeah, I
They've been
mean,
notified.
my only question would be, I know there was a couple of different levels of fines, and I don't know who decides which is which, but I think someone needs to, maybe the attorney or somebody needs to say, this is willful, violation that,
Yeah.
whatever. So, yeah, but I
think
whatever,
if they don't respond to the application,
whatever you as chair and the town attorney decides, I'm on board with.
okay.
Me too.
Same here.
Yeah, it's not egregious quite yet, but no response is not good.
Yeah.
The other thing is the ongoing, for example, the Pequot Library storage containers. It looks like they painted them maybe, but weren't they going to come in for an application for a certificate of appropriateness on those, or what was the latest on that?
Do I remember shrubs being,
Dale?
just-
Um, oh,
do I
hold
remember
on.
shrubs being,
They proposed to put up shrubs and do it, but I don't know were they gonna come in for it? Were they doing to do an application, Dale? Adam?
Adam, you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted, Adam. That's what's wrong. I knew you said something.
Sorry, I had my dog was barking, so I muted myself.
Your lips were moving, but there was no voice.
Stephanie, I spoke to Stephanie Coakley and we had a discussion about how to deal with this. You know, I suggested an off-site storage for the books, and they haven't figured out how to do that. And I think the board is, the Pequot board is going to try and come up with a solution, in which they haven't yet. For the time being, the solution is to try and screen this container so that it's not so visible. And that's not a great solution, but until they come up, I mean, right now they don't have a solution, and we can't. I don't think it's in the best interest of the commission to, you know, have these guys, you know, lose a storage facility for a huge event for the town, which is book sale. You know, I mean, it's a big part of the community. And if we push them to get rid of it, and you know, then it would have a huge impact on that. So it's not an easy solution, or it's not an easy thing to deal with. But
well, they've been painted, and they did put some trees in front of them. They're not very tall. They will grow, of course. So will children. But
I know, I don't think it's an appropriate solution. I mean, it's a temporary solution, is what it is, and until they come up with a better, you know, permanent solution, I think we work with them. They've been there for such a long period already that I don't think a little longer is going to hurt. So.
Well, they look a lot better than they used to. It was a good call, Chris, from the very beginning, that we should deal with it. So
yeah, they're on notice.
At least it's how we missed that for so long. But they've been there for what, 12, 14 years. And at least they're now green, and they aren't so visually jarring.
Yeah, your eye's not drawn to them like it used to be. At least, like, I'll speak for myself.
Yeah.
Like it used to be for me.
Yeah, I agree.
It's definitely a temporary solution, though. So. All right. I need to get going, so if we can get a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I have two quick updates. Is that possible?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead. Yep.
One, I know I was supposed to be doing an application to get an HRI update. The GAR that needs to precede everything was just submitted. So now I'll go on with that. So that's update number one. Update number two is our annual CLG report is due at the end of this month. So I'll be compiling that and sending it up to the state so that we're in compliance. That's it.
Okay. Just let me know if you need anything from me for that.
Everything's already compiled. I have all the COAs
great.
listed out.
Applications and everything.
Yeah, we're all good.
Perfect.
It's all ready.
Thank you.
Sure,
Great.
no
Thank
problem.
you for keeping us compliant.
Yep,
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Had to beat you.
We're adjourned. Thank you, guys.